Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon and Andrew Claudio join me. We're going to break down Western Conference win total over unders to preview the 2025-26 NBA season. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about the Quentin Grimes saga coming to a conclusion, as well as Nikola Jovic getting an extension from the Miami Heat. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? I know you guys have some crazy animals in Australia, like you got the spider stuff and whatever. We had to kill a rattlesnake on the block yesterday. Are rattlesnakes a thing in Australia?
I don't know. There are like brown snakes and stuff that you have to be pretty worried about. Like we live by a creek here in Australia.
Okay.
And it just like kind of runs through the northern suburbs of the city. And my wife like almost stepped on like apparently a very poisonous brown snake one time and was like, yeah, so if you would have called, or if I would have stepped on this, I would have called you and you would have had to like come and get me. And I think we would have had like 20 or so minutes, 25 or so minutes, like to be able to figure this out. And otherwise I would have gotten like dreadfully sick. And like, you know, if we had waited like a few hours, I might have died. And I was like, wait, what now? Like, what's happening here?
That's extreme. I mean, the nice thing about I just sent you and GMAC the pictures of the rattlesnake, and then
what the fuck?
That's not our house. That's the house across the street of our best friends. Yeah, I mean, it was just the crazy part was their kids like had walked right by it multiple times until they finally saw what it was, and then the guy that stopped the guy that's taking care of the snake, that's actually my principal. That's who they called to take care of it. My principal like is a bullfighter and stuff during the summer. Like he's like the most unique dude ever. But yeah, so GMAC says no thanks. Yeah. Here's what I had to debate all day.
No thanks.
I had to debate all day. Am I man enough to do what needed to be done in that situation if it would have been called upon for me to do that? And I've really debated myself all day if I would have had the GMAC has an opinion here on this. Yeah.
Let me just be clear. The answer is no. I would not be doing this. I would not be going anywhere near the snake. I would move. That would be my next move. To answer the question you asked to Sam earlier, are there snakes in New York? The answer is not anymore now that Eric Adams dropped out.
So I think that I'm just calling pest control, to be honest with you. Like, I think that that's just the move at that point. You call pest control and you get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's just not how we handle things in Southwest Kansas. We had a possum on the block one day too. We just like called the neighbor. He took care of it. Like I feel like I'm not like
we've had possums in the roof. Like that has happened before.
No thanks.
Yeah, somehow they like climbed into like the little gap like somehow in the roof and like got it. Like we've had to deal with that. Like that happens. But yeah, snake, like dangerous snake, no. Also, thing that I've learned here, and I swear we're going to talk about basketball in a second. Possums are actually cuter here in Australia than they are in the United States. Like possums look like, you know, really ratty and straight up.
I was gonna say the possum that was on our block was not cute. That was not how I would describe that thing. Let me type in possum like Australia and see if they look better. Oh,
Australian possums are like kind of smaller. They're kind of cute. Like you're not all that worried about them, to be honest. So yeah, it's a whole different thing. Let's move on and talk about basketball though. So
sure.
Quentin Grimes has finally concluded the restricted free agency period of the 2025 NBA offseason. He has signed his qualifying offer. His qualifying offer, I believe, is for $8.7 million. So this is one of those things where I'm really interested to talk about it just briefly, because look, he is now locked in for the year with the 76ers. He has a no trade clause, right? Inherent no trade clause.
Mhm.
Because if the 76ers were to move him, he would lose his bird rights. And that would be, as we talked about, Jonathan Kuminga, inherently negative toward him. The reason that the Warriors did a deal with Kuminga is because, and why they overpaid, frankly, on Kuminga, is in order to get him on a deal that makes sense for everybody, right? They can move him, they can keep the asset flowing, they're able to kind of continue down this road. The 76ers have gone a different way. They have decided to let Quentin Grimes sign this deal. It just seems like Quentin Grimes and his representation, and this comes from somebody who really likes Quentin Grimes as a player and thinks he's actually quite good. It does seem like they have a bit of an overinflated sense of what Quentin Grimes is worth on the market right now. Grimes' side indicated early in the process, according to Shams, and this is said by multiple other sources across the reporting sphere, Kyle Neubeck, Gina Mizell, etc., that he wanted $30 million a season early in free agency. I mean, that's just never happening for Quentin Grimes. Again, I like Quentin Grimes, but just not happening. And then he decided that he wanted a deal between 20 and 25 million. I think that asking for 20 million is not a crazy number to start with, honestly, for Quentin Grimes. If you want to start at 22 million and then negotiate downward, you want to anchor at 22 if you're the representation and be like, okay, this is where we're starting, 4 years, 90 million. I at least understand the thought process behind that, right? And then you come down and maybe you can get something done at 17, 18 million a year, which ultimately I think is probably worth a little bit. Honestly, I think he's probably worth a little bit more than the mid-level exception, but given the market now and given who actually had dollars, I think the full mid-level exception was probably the right deal here. But according to his agent, who spoke on the record with Shams and who has been speaking on the record with people, I like the way this agent handled it a little bit more than the way Aaron Turner handled it, because it seemed like Aaron Turner was just kind of free-flowing on podcasts, whereas David Bauman, who represents Quentin Grimes, just kind of spoke to these people, on the record, and did some, allowed these people to do normal reporting. Bauman said the Sixers' first formal proposal of the offseason came September 24th with a 4-year, $39 million offer. That's an unserious offer, just to be completely transparent. It's the kind of offer that keeps the 76ers, I believe, just over the second apron, maybe a little bit over the second apron as compared to where they are now. I think that they are $7 million over the second apron right now, if memory serves, after this deal. So this would just be a little bit more, maybe, in the ballpark. And then days later, Grimes was offered a 1-year, $8.8 million deal that gave him $100,000 more than his qualifying offer in order to waive his inherent no trade clause. So I saw that and I was like, this is fucking hilarious. There's just no way that any NBA GM did this, probably. Then I realized Daryl does stuff like this, right? He is a shrewd negotiator on things. I asked 3 separate agents what it would take to, and somebody who, can sign an $8.7 million qualifying offer. What is the number that it would take to waive the no trade clause? How much on top of the 8.6 or 8.7 million would you need in order to waive that? I got numbers between $2 and $5 million, basically, is the answer.
Interesting. I would have thought maybe more, Sam, because of the bird rights situation and what he could be leaving on the table next offseason.
Yeah, but if you get, let's call it in the middle, let's call it $3.5 million, you're getting, 12.2 million this year. That is a big jump, I think, for Grimes, getting up to that $12.2 million number. I can understand being willing to waive that in order to get that, especially if you're Grimes. I think it's a little bit different for Kuminga than Grimes, because we do think Kuminga has like a little bit more, shot creation upside. Whether or not that's right or wrong, like there's probably a little bit more of a, okay, there are outcomes here where Jonathan Kuminga makes $30 million a year. I don't know that there are outcomes where Quentin Grimes makes $30 million a year, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as important, because you can just sign him if it's 12.2, if it's 13.2 million, something like that. You can go, what is the non-bird, you can go like 10% higher or something in order to re-sign a player. Might be 5% higher. It's somewhere in that ballpark. So you can get him up to
non-bird
like,
is 120.
okay, 120. So if it's 20% of 13 million, it's just doing quick math here, 15.6 million
Yeah, totally.
is a starting salary, right?
Yeah.
So that feels not terrible for Quentin Grimes to me. Like that feels like something that's at least remotely in the ballpark. I think that's the number it would have taken to waive the inherent no trade clause.
Sure.
I guess is where I'm at. Like I think it's like right around somewhere between 12 and 13 million dollars a year. And for them to offer 100 and for them to offer 439, assuming David Bauman is not, just kind of out there saying things, right? And just like fully lying. And I don't think David Bauman has any reason to do that in this circumstance. What this tells me at the end of the day is that the 76ers have no interest in having Quentin Grimes on their roster long-term at the end of the day. They have VJ Edgecombe. They have Jared McCain. I think when they made the Quentin Grimes deal, they maybe didn't expect to have VJ Edgecombe. And when they selected VJ, I think it probably changed their plans, because these are unserious offers, right? That's just kind of the reality of the situation here, is that these are not serious offers. And it tells me that they're more comfortable with this than what you would expect.
Yeah, this is begging the player to either take an insanely team-friendly situation or feel very comfortable with Quentin Grimes for them being on the 1-year qualifying offer and then losing him in free agency next offseason, because, as you mentioned, you have VJ Edgecombe now entering year 2, Jared McCain entering year 3. Obviously, Maxi's in the backcourt, and, who knows what happens with the rest of the roster. Obviously, it's a little bit in flux and some questions around it anyway. So that was definitely one thought I had as we've seen this all play out. The other thing was going back to his time in Detroit and me questioning why Trajan immediately traded him to Dallas for Tim Hardaway Jr., which ended up being a good trade, I think, for the Pistons, but at the time, not one I necessarily agreed with in terms of the process of it, because of what Grimes was as a player, what Tim Hardaway Jr. is as a player, even though the floor spacing, but like the defensive aspect of Grimes. But what I had heard was, this exact situation where Grimes was going to be looking for a huge number. And if you're Detroit, not to bring Detroit into this, but you would have been dealing with this along with the JI and JD rookie extension things this offseason. That's just way more than an organization needs to be dealing with. So my point of all of that is, going back over a year now, I wondered if this is what the way it would play out. Like when the trade happened, I go, he better be asking for way too much money. And now here, in the fall of 2025, he was asking for way too much money. And now I kind of get why he bounced around a little bit and ended up in this situation.
Let's say that the number is $18 million a year. He would have agreed to a deal for $18 million a year. So that would be 472. Would you have done a 472 deal with Quentin Grimes?
I would not have loved that. I would have tried to get him on a shorter deal if he wanted that money. Some
354.
And some sort of like descending or something like that. Like now, that depends.
They can't do descending because they need, like they are so up against it in terms of the second apron. Like they are into the second apron right now.
That's what I was gonna say, is with that consideration though. Yeah. I like 16 a lot better, Sam. Like 16 a year, 15, 16 a year is the number I would have liked a lot better.
Yeah. So they are. I'm sorry. They're not into the second apron. I am. Am I lying there? I might be lying there that they're not into the
So
second apron. I
Sputnik
thought
has
they
him at
were.
13, but I don't know exactly. They don't have Grimes' new number updated, and so it has some of the cap holds and stuff. So
They do. They have Grimes in here. They're a million away from the first aprons. Or no, they're a million. Yeah, they're a million away from the first apron still.
yeah,
And they are 12 million away from the second apron. So an $18 million deal would have gotten them like up against the second apron, is what it would have done. I probably do that. I think I would have done like 470 maybe, if that was my ball, if that was my like kind of idea. Like I think 470 is kind of where I would have held the line. And ultimately, like I think if I was the Sixers and I knew I was taking VJ Edgecombe, I probably, and look, maybe they tried to do this. I don't want to sit here and say they didn't, right? Maybe they did aggressively try to do this, but I think I would have tried to have handled this early in the offseason and told Quentin, hey, go find a sign and trade. Like, we will do this. We will accommodate you, but go find a team and go find a number. And we will figure this out with the team and we'll make it work. But maybe they did that and maybe there was just not another team.
Assuming Grimes would do it, would you have been more aggressive with the 1-year offer to get rid of the no trade clause? Like, would that be very valuable to you if you're Philly?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right. Like that's
yeah,
my thought is like where this season could potentially go for them, Sam. I think I would have given him, assuming there was a number they would have taken to waive it. I think if I'm Philly, I would have tried to really pursue that because there's a path that this season goes where you're going to want to trade him if health doesn't play out. So, once you got to this point, I think they should have pushed that. Like, obviously 100,000 is a joke, but and maybe Grimes and his side had no interest whatsoever. But man, I would have tried to pursue that a little bit aggressively, I think.
Yeah. So they're 1.1 million away from the first apron, and they are like 12 million away from the second apron. I would have gone into the first apron to have the Grimes asset. Like if he would have done a $13 million deal, I would have done like a 1-year $13 million deal to get Grimes like into the fold and have that number. Because here's the other thing, like it's actually really useful for them to have that number.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least, just from a trade perspective, because you're not moving Edgecombe at 11. So they really have no deals between 38 million and 8.7 million now, which is not ideal in terms of like exploring trades that are out on the market. Where they are is they are 7 million over the tax. That's the number I was remembering in my head. It wasn't second apron, it was the tax. They're 7 million over the tax. I'm wondering, and this would be ownership more than the front office. I don't want to blame the front office people if they had nothing to do with this. I'm wondering if the front office folks got told, we need to avoid the tax at some point this year, and they're just going to end up dumping Grimes for a pick at some point this year to a contender, and that'll be the move.
Yeah,
or Kelly Oubre or whoever.
And
right?
You assume that Grimes would accept that because he gets to go play for a contender and could potentially be happy in that situation.
Yeah. I wonder how much of this was tax avoidance, unfortunately, because to me, the 3 million, 3.5 million, 4 million, whatever it would have cost to get him to waive the no trade clause, maybe it was less, maybe it was 2.5, right? It just would have been so much more valuable to them from an asset perspective to be able to do that.
Yep.
So, okay. The other deal we have to talk about, Nikola Jovic signs his extension with the Miami Heat, 4 years, $62.4 million. Deal is fully guaranteed. Interesting deal. I think Jovic is a really good player. Like I really like him when I watch him. I am obviously obsessed with guys who are big, who can dribble, pass, and shoot, and he has all of those skills. The issue is he's just never done it for a sample more than 46 games at this point. Be it that Spo has had moments where he's been a little bit up and down with him in the rotation, be it where he's gotten injured, like that. He just hasn't done it for 46 games or more than 46 games in a season. that feels like something that's noteworthy to me. And it's ultimately why when we projected the deal, I think we said like 342 or so. So we said like 14 million a year, and he ended up at 15 a year. Interesting, like very interesting that he got this much money.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the total number kind of jumps off at you for Jovic. My immediate thought was like, okay, this is non-tax MLE money. Doesn't necessarily mean he has to be a starter, but you're really locking him in here. Obviously, he's going to be a heavy part of the rotation. Doesn't mean like he's going to have a chance to start. Like what I always wonder what that means, and like where the organization then is seeing a player whenever they lock him in to these type of contracts. So it seems a touch high. Like I'm not going to freak out over again, a contract that is essentially the non-tax MLE that's never going to be more than 9% of the cap. I mean, as long as he's if he's a starter, it's a great deal. If he's your sixth man, it's still a great deal. You start to get past that and it's like, okay. And then if injuries, like you mentioned, end up being a bigger issue, then it can start to look a little bit rough. But it immediately stood out to me as a little bit higher than I would have thought, but not by a ton. And especially when you start to look at the percentage of the caps and stuff like that, these are just the numbers we have to start getting used to, I think, for rotational players, like guys that are rotational players are going to start making $20 million a year very soon, Sam.
Yeah, I think that just given that even if he's like their seventh man, this number is fine.
Yeah,
to me.
Sure.
It's worth noting that like Eric Spoelstra in his media day press conference said, about Jovic, he's becoming more mature, more professional. And if you're hanging out with players much older than you, it just naturally happens. I've seen growth from him over 3 years because of that standard they've had in that program. Speaking about the Serbian national team, it is interesting that, that's kind of the vibe that he gave off. I know the Heat are so aggressive about promoting professional standards, like the Khalil Ware thing that happened earlier this year, Khalil Ware, I'm sorry. And, that is something that really matters to them. When you draft teenagers, it sometimes takes them some time. So they might think that there's some real upside here with Jovic. And I think that they might be right. Again, like these guys that are legit, like 6'9", 6'10", who can move a little bit. Like he's not immobile, I would argue. Like he can credibly play the three. I like him way more as a four. But like if you play him with Bam and Ware, it's not going to be catastrophic, I don't think, especially if you play like some more like zony concepts on defense. Can really shoot and he can really pass at that size. Like that's really what it comes down to for me. The fact that he can really shoot and really pass at that size is a massive, massive thing.
No, like he's a very intriguing player, Sam. And like I said, I understand this bet. It just, to me, whenever you lock in this amount of money for somebody, you always wonder, and there probably wasn't any questions about whether he was in their plans and stuff like that, but it's like, okay, like they really believe in him. They believe in his growth, his maturity, like all of the things you mentioned, along with the size and the talent and the skill. And so now he's got to stay healthy and he's got to go out and do it consistently, because there's been stretches where I think even starting for this team, he's been, hey, like, okay, maybe he's a real starter for them. I don't know how that all looks with Bam and Ware, but there's obviously lineups where, he can play with either one of those guys. So I'm fine with it. Again, this isn't one I'm just going to really freak out one way or the other. They definitely didn't get a steal. I think there's an outside chance it ends up being a little bit rich, but that probably has more to do with like availability than actual ability and talent and skill.
Yeah, I think talent wise, he's like totally worth the steal at the end
Sure.
of the day. It's just whether or not he plays. Okay. Before we get Andrew up here, we do have to do one thing. We have to shout out our good friends over at NUTRAFOL. Pulling up the ad copy. It just went away from me for a second, Bryce. I'm sorry. If you're dealing with hair issues like thinning or shedding, but feel totally stuck on what to do next, there are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's exactly why you need to give NUTRAFOL a closer look. It's not just hype, it's physician formulated, clinically tested, and it is even the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since NUTRAFOL hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF Contents certified. That's the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. You will see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with NUTRAFOL. For a limited time, NUTRAFOL is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to NUTRAFOL.com and enter that promo code Game Theory. Find out why NUTRAFOL is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at NUTRAFOL.com, spelled NUTRAFOL.com, promo code Game Theory. That's NUTRAFOL.com, promo code Game Theory. All right, Andrew Claudio, come up on the stage and let's talk Eastern Conference, or Western Conference, I'm sorry, over-unders. I enjoyed doing Eastern Conference over-unders. I thought it was really fun. We had a good time. Now we're going to dig into the West, where it's even more cluttered and clumped, I feel like, than what the East is.
I do too. I agree about it being cluttered and clumped. I did also have fun doing the Eastern Conference, with the caveat that I've had some Boston people reach out to me that, hey, way to represent GMAC, and now I don't like my allies for taking the Celtics over. New York's playing Boston in baseball tonight. I also don't know which ally I want to pick between the Yankees and the Red Sox. So I just hopefully I don't make any weird bedfellows in the Western Conference when I make my over-unders too here. I don't think there's any team I have beef with in the West, but I guess we'll see as we go throughout this list.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to kind of talk through it and talk about just this big clutter of teams, basically from, I would argue, 4 down to like 8 or 9, right? Like the Wolves, Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, Spurs are all listed somewhere between 49.5 and 44.5. And that's just like kind of a crazy, like cluttered, clumped thing. And then, oh, by the way, the Mavericks and the Grizzlies are both at 40.5, by the way. If you look at the East, I mean, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that are 40 plus or more. There are 10 teams in the West. They're projected for 40 or more wins. I'm really interested to kind of talk through this and see where we're at on all of these teams.
It's gonna be fun. I had to bounce around a little bit with my over-unders, because I wanted to make it, obviously it can't be 50-50, but as close to as possible. And I had a couple tough ones where I didn't love what I ended up having to do with them, but I wanted to stay true to that. So we'll see.
Okay. Our first team, your defending NBA champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder won 68 games last season, on the way to an NBA championship. Their line this season is 62.5. Guys, why? Why is this number so low?
So you think it's low?
Yes.
Okay.
This team's fucking awesome, Andrew.
I agree.
They kept everybody. Like, there's continuity. They won 68 last year. They won the title. They didn't even stay like that healthy last year. Like, Chet got hurt for a while and like missed a significant number of games. Hartenstein missed a significant number of games. There was like a 10-game stretch where they were running Jalen Williams out at center in like October and November.
J-Dub Jalen Williams, not even J-Will Jalen Williams.
Correct. Yeah. Like, Cason Wallace played 68 games last year. Caruso only played 54 games last year. AJ Mitchell missed half the season. Like, is this like a bet on Shea getting injured? Like, what am I missing with this? Like, please explain this to me like I'm 5.
So I have some trivia for you, because I agree with everything you said. And I think the only case for the under is that back-to-back 63 win seasons has not happened very often. Can you guys name the 4 teams ever that have won back-to-back 63 win seasons?
So I'm going to guess 90s Bulls did it.
That would have been my first guess also.
95, 96, 96, 97. The first 2 Bulls when Jordan was fully returned and not a baseball player anymore.
Did the KD Warriors do it?
So the KD Warriors, the first year was the 3rd straight year that the Warriors had won 60. They won 67, 73, 67 in 3 straight years. The other 2 are from before.
So like a Celtics team. Celtics.
No, hold on.
Yes.
This is Bryce. The Celtics in 84-85 and 85-86 did it, and then there's one more.
I would have said the Pistons, but I just looked it up. They didn't do it. The
They did
bad
not.
boys. The bad boys didn't do it.
They won 64
Yeah, and
one of those
I
years.
don't know if I don't even know if the 60s Celtics did it.
The Celtics in the 60s did not
Yeah.
do it. The other team to do it was I forget if it's rookie and second year or second year and third year of Kareem, the Milwaukee Bucks of 70-71 and 71-72. The point being, some very special teams are the ones to win 63 games in back-to-back seasons. And it's my whole case for just saying the over. I think this is a special team. I think this is a special era of Thunder basketball. We'll see when we get to like finals predictions how far I think they'll go. But as far as a regular season wins machine, I think they're in the category of the 4 teams that I just mentioned. That I'll take the over.
So as people know, I have the last 4 years, the averages, the max, the min, all of that. So initially, if I stuck to that, I should take the under here because the average win total for the 1 seed in the West over the last 4 years is actually 60.5 games. So when I first did this, I just stayed true to that. I just went over, under, over, under. So I had the Thunder under, and then I very quickly went immediately back to the top and changed it to over and went searching for my over that I needed to flip to an under because there's just no way I'm going to go under on 62.5 wins on a team that has Shea, that has youth, that has Chet Holmgren, who I think is going to look to have a big regular season and has as much depth as this team has.
So I think that like this team just does it in kind of an unsexy way because there's like a historically good defense, right? Like that's the whole thing, is that their defense is historically relevant in comparison to the rest of like NBA history realistically, but especially within the last 30 years of NBA history. You know what I mean? Like if you look at that little run, they are the best defense. It's like them and the Bad Boys, or they not the Bad Boys Pistons. I'm sorry, they're like 2004 Pistons, right?
Going to work. Yep.
So I look at that and I say, and I think that maybe the KG Celtics as well, right? This team is just like historically relevant, and they're gonna get better. Like J-Dub is 24. Casey Wallace is 22. Chet is 23. Like AJ Mitchell is 23. Lou Dort is 26, I think. Hartenstein is still only 27. Aaron Wiggins, I think, is 27. Shea is only 27, obviously. Like,
real quick, did you guys see Aaron Wiggins? Finish your point, and then I'll come back. I'm sorry. Go, keep going, Sam. But I want to come back to Aaron Wiggins.
Like, Topic will be there this year. The god Brooks Barnheiser is on the team, for God's sake.
Stop it. He looks like a god. Good Lord.
That dude is a tank.
He is jacked.
There has never been more of a G League defensive tank than Brooks Barnheiser.
Okay, since we're doing Brooks Barnheiser, let me go back to Aaron Wiggins. Did you guys see Schleck's interview with Aaron Wiggins?
Yes, I did.
Did you see his answer to his favorite movie of all? You guys have to go check this out. Go check. I saw it on Facebook because
I didn't see this one.
Oh yeah, no. Schleck asked Aaron Wiggins what his favorite movie was.
What did he say?
He said Spirit, the horse movie.
Spirited Away. Yeah.
It's because, well, it was born.
Spirited Away is good.
Yeah, but I mean,
but for that to be his favorite movie of all time,
and then he like went through the life cycle that happened in the movie and just like how it was not inspirational, but just like how it went through his whole life of struggle and whatever. It just was, it was.
So wait. Time out.
Uh-oh.
Is it
About to be some rec
Spirit
center. Here we go.
Stallion of the Cimarron, or is it Spirited Away?
I don't know what-
Spirited Away is the Hayao Miyazaki like classic. Spirit Stallion of the
Oh,
Cimarron
it's
is
Spirit.
the horse
No,
movie.
it's definitely Spirit, the horse movie.
No,
Yes,
the
it's
horse
Spirit.
movie, the
Like,
cartoon
yes, it's
horse
Spirit.
movie.
It's Spirit.
Yes, you have to go watch. It's hilarious
not seen
because
it.
Oh
This
my
is
gosh.
amazing.
because then Wiggins goes, should we? I think he says something like, should I change my answer? Like he goes through the whole spiel, lays out the whole movie, Sam, of like the adversity, and then he does this, and then he faces adversity, and then he comes through, and it's the end of his, whatever. And then, Schlecht is kind of laughing, and he's like, oh, should I say something different? Should we do this again and me give a different answer? It just, an NBA player saying Spirit is just amazing. Like, I'm gonna have to show my daughter because she will fall in love with Aaron Wiggins now.
Yeah. Is your daughter a big Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron?
She's a bigger fan of
fan?
Spirit than she is of Sam Vecenie. I can tell you that much.
Oh man.
That's probably true. I'm sure that's true. I am excited now. Even more wins, 70 wins this year for the Oklahoma City
go.
Thunder, based on Aaron Wiggins' favorite movie being Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. Book it. Look, I think this team's going to have real internal development on top of having internal chemistry and like real ability to have internal development and growth. I think that they win 68 again, like something like that. Like look, I've been way high. Like I picked the Thunder to win the title last year, like in the preseason. Like I've just been in on this team for quite a while now. I absolutely think this is like a historically relevant team at this point, and still maintaining Hartenstein, who's in a contract year now. He needs to play well. Chet has gotten his deal done. J-Dub's gotten his deal done, obviously, but like, I think these guys are still motivated. Like, I think they want to do this again. And yeah, I'm going to go 68 for sure.
Yep. It ended up being a pretty easy over for me.
Same.
Easy over for me as well. Okay. Number 2, the Houston Rockets. This is probably a little bit more of a complicated conversation, just given Fred VanVleet is out for the season, seemingly with torn ACL. Their number is 54.5. They won 52 games last year and have added Kevin Durant, subtracted Fred VanVleet, basically, from this group. Still have Alperen Şengün, still have Amen Thompson, still have all of the defensive pieces that made them quite good outside of Dylan Brooks, and obviously Jalen Green is gone as well. But this is a hard number for me. I think it's like around the number-ish, like in that ballpark. Where did you guys fall?
Yep. I ended up under. I'll just like bite the bullet on this one because I know Rockets fans aren't going to like that. My thing is, so again, looking at the data over the last 4 years, I have the Rockets finishing third in the West now after the Fred VanVleet injury. I don't think I'm as worried ultimately about the Rockets ceiling and what they could ultimately do this year, including in the playoffs without Fred, because I think Amin will develop. Hopefully Reed Shepherd develops. I am a little bit more worried about their floor. I'm a little bit worried about what the start of the season looks like. Like it could be rough. Maybe they drop some games as they try to acclimate some people. What happens in games that Kevin Durant doesn't play? Maybe the defense is just flat out good enough. But I don't think it's going to be much under this, but only one team that's finished third in the West has won more games than this 54.5. And that was 56. So just like looking at those numbers, having a little bit of questions without Fred, I went slightly under. It doesn't change who I think this team is. It doesn't change ultimately what I think the ceiling of this team is, which is definitely a Western Conference finalist potential. I think they absolutely have that. I have to go half of my overs, half of my unders, and they were a team that I just slightly felt okay going under with.
Andrew?
I land in the same spot at the under. I had them over, and I'll just kind of show my hand here too. I had them in the finals before the Fred VanVleet injury. I thought it's just like a fun thing to say that it's going to be a repeat of the 94 NBA Finals, Knicks Rockets. I also thought they had the defense, and then you add Kevin Durant, you add the depth that they they added, and I still think they have a lot of that depth. Now without Van Vliet, and I'm been wrestling with how important I'm making Fred VanVleet to a title contender. Is he really going to be the difference between the team making the finals and not making the finals? And I do think he is that good. I think he's a very additive player, a steadying ship for a team that needs a point guard. And now, I mean, Sengun, I think Sengun's going to have a great season. I can see a leap from a men. You're now asking a lot of Kevin Durant at age 37 to be like the guy in crunch time and the guy this season, as well as asking him, like he played 62 games last year and 75 the year before, and then has a bunch of 30 to 40 game seasons. So I don't think it's a guarantee you get a full season, full bill of health from him. And there's just more paths to the under. Even if it is like a 51 win team, that's still the under. So I also, like Bryce, have him finishing third, but I do have him as the under.
The way that you phrase this is correct. I see there being more paths to the under. I think there's a chance they blow by this, to be honest with you, and that we find out that Amen Thompson is like an all NBA player.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, like it wouldn't stun me if we learned that by the end of the process, that if we look up at the end of the season and Amen Thompson is at like 20, 10, and 7 or something like that crazy, while just like completely dominating and slicing and dicing for Kevin Durant, and then Alperen Şengün is an all-star as well. Like they very easily could have 3 all-stars this year and it wouldn't blow my mind. It's also just like there's a little bit more uncertainty here because of the fact that they have an entirely new backcourt, right? Like Jalen Green is gone, which I think is additive, frankly, comparatively, given the fact that they got Kevin Durant. Losing Fred is like a big piece of the way that they want to play, because they do want to play that kind of possession battle, right? They want to crush you on the offensive glass, and they want to, withhold turnovers. They were top 5 in turnover rate last year offensively, and they were number 1 in offensive rebounding rate last year. I think the number 1 in offensive rebounding rate will absolutely continue. My guess is that with Amen Thompson now moving into the point guard role in all likelihood, unless it's Reed, like, God, if it ends up being Reed and Reed is good enough to just do this, they're going way over, I think. Like if Reed is what we think he is, and like they're just like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable to start, they probably go way over, right? Or if they have routes to going way over. But Andrew said what worries me the most, and it's Kevin Durant's health, right? So Kevin Durant missed the entire 2019-20 season after his injury in the finals. 2021, 35 games. 2022, 55 games. 2023, 47 games. 2024, he did play 75 games, but then last season missed 20 games again. If he misses 20 games, I think it's just kind of hard for them, right? Like if he misses 30 games, like it's a real trouble spot, right? So I just think given that specifically, they're probably better equipped than they were last year to make a deep playoff run, but they might end up being in the like 50 to 52 win bucket is kind of where I'm at. There are real routes here to like 60 wins though. If Amen Thompson just blows up and he is an absolute stud and a savage and is just like ready to go, man, like I think there's a real route here to them absolutely going nuts this year and being like a real breakout team. I just kind of think there are more routes to the to the under, because what if like Amen Thompson like takes a little bit of time to get his feet under him at the point guard spot, and it takes some real 25 games for them to figure out the offensive flow and structure with Kevin Durant entering the fold. It's just a little bit different to me.
What if Reed isn't
they're
ready?
A great team.
Like, what if Reed isn't ready? Like, that's a
exactly
real,
right. Like
a real issue if Reed's not ready to take that on.
Dead on. So I love this Rockets team. I think everybody has known for the last 3 years. I've made people talk about the fucking Rockets on this show, even when they were a 20-win team, because I love watching this team. It doesn't hurt that like former podcast partner Cole Zwicker is in their front office now. Like I'm always fascinated by them because of that. Like I love this Houston Rockets team. I love what they have done. I just think that like they're probably better equipped to play well in the playoffs now than they are in the regular season, just because of KD at the end of the day, like in the injuries that KD could suffer throughout the year.
Sure.
Okay. So I am going under. I don't feel great about it though. Like I would almost like, if I was betting on this, like I would bet the under, but then if I could find like an alternate line of like 58 wins or something, and it was like 6-1 or something like that, I might be willing to take the over on that at like a high number and just be like, oh yeah, like I'll take, like I think there's like a 16% chance that they win 59 games. It's just that I think that there are probably more routes to them winning 50 games.
I wrote in my notes, if Amen and KD are all-stars this year, this hits the over easily, because it'll mean both of them contributed to the point where they're allowed to be or considered all-stars around the break or whenever they decide the voting, which will probably carry them throughout the rest of the season to the over. So
yeah. Okay, the Denver Nuggets. 150 games last year. They have added significantly in terms of depth to the roster this season. I am really intrigued to see what this team looks like, if only because they look like a group that has some potential synergy here. They have Jonas Valanciunas as a backup center. That's the best backup center they've had in quite a while. They have added Bruce Brown to the mix. They've added Tim Hardaway Jr. to the mix. Two guys that were, I don't know if Bruce was like a starting caliber player last year, but was certainly a starting caliber player the year before in Indiana. He knows the scheme incredibly well. He's been there for a long time. Tim Hardaway Jr. certainly was a starting caliber player last year for the Detroit Pistons, as Bryce knows well. Both those guys, I would imagine, are coming off the bench this year, along with Jonas. Like they have a real 8-man rotation now of veterans and guys that have been in the scheme. And then they have like upside swings like Deron Holmes and Peyton Watson and, kind of some guys like that they could really work with. They swap Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson. Their win total over under is 53.5. Where are you guys on this number?
I'm over. I'm not like banging the over, but I am over here. I think they're the number 2 team in the West now with the Fred VanVleet injury. Again, whenever I look at the averages, it's right there for the number 2 team in the East. They has averaged 54 wins over the last 4 seasons. So I'm going to go over with this. And for a lot of listen, I think Nikola Jovic is the best player in the world based on a recent ESPN poll. Most of people believe that also. And, you mentioned the depth. I think with Bruce Brown, with Tim Hardaway, I realize those aren't like super exciting names, but Tim Hardaway Jr. was on a team that started for a team that made the Eastern Conference play. Now he's going to just go play off the best player in the world off the bench. And I think we've seen what Bruce Brown can look like with this team. People know I'm a huge Deron Holmes fan. I think he fits in very nicely with that team. Peyton Watson. And then, Valanciunas obviously adds a level of something that they've never had for, at least for a long time with Jokic. So I think the depth, I like it for the playoffs and them as title contenders, but I also like it for how many games they're going to win in the regular season.
Bryce, it's everything you just said. And oh yeah, they have Nikola Jokic. And oh yeah, the guy that I remember talking to you about this last year when they fired their coach and their president of basketball operations the last week of the season en route to a 50-win season and then making the second round and taking the eventual champs to 7 games. Like all of that turmoil going on behind the scenes. And he still did all of that. And you made him your MVP last year. And I was saying it was one of those weird situations where hearing about all the turmoil behind the scenes actually helped his MVP case for me. And now I think his roster is better. I think it's the best backup center he's ever had. So all of the Jokic crazy on-off numbers, this will actually be the test case that we're not just comparing to what is it like when DeAndre Jordan at the end of his career is in the game. No disrespect, although you did go to Brooklyn. Trivia time again. Jokic, if he finishes top 2 in MVP this year, will become the 3rd player ever to finish top 2 in MVP in 6 straight seasons. Can you two name the other 2?
LeBron. Did
Top
LeBron
2
do it?
in 6
LeBron. So
straight
here's
seasons.
where the haters won. Here's where the haters won, Bryce. He did it in 4 straight seasons, then went to Miami, and then he finished 3rd behind Dwight Howard and Derrick Rose, and then finished 1st or 2nd the next 3 seasons. So it would have been 8 straight.
The first name that actually came to mind for me was actually Kareem on this.
So here's where the haters won again. So he won it like 3 out of 4 years and finished 1st or 2nd in all four of those seasons. There's this weird 5th place finish the last year of his time in Milwaukee. Then he goes to the Lakers and finishes 1st the next 2 seasons. So not Kareem either.
Huh. Okay.
And Michael Jordan, remember, retired.
Yeah.
So he's not it either.
Yeah.
How many straight seasons?
6 straight seasons. He's done it 5.
guessing-
Gets it this year. He's done it 6.
Yeah. Bird dealt with a few too many injury things throughout the course of his career.
And yet he's one of the 3 people. Larry Bird did it in the 80s.
Interesting.
Yes.
He won
Okay.
3 straight.
Won 3
so-
straight and was 1st or 2nd the 2 years before and the 1 year after.
Interesting. I would. And then,
Russell?
like my other answer.
And Bill Russell is the other answer. Well done,
Yeah.
Bryce.
I'm Boston Celtic fans are gonna love me now, like they love you, GM.
There you go. We're pro Boston here apparently on this podcast. I'm hitting the over very hard. As I'm like you said, banging the over. I think this is going to be a near 60-win team, and if these 2 teams meet in the conference finals, I'm going to enjoy a lot of the basketball that is played.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? So, we talk about continuity with these things and like getting out to an early start, especially when it's a big number. I kind of just think that Jokic creates like automatic continuity on some level, especially when he's surrounded by, 4 guys that have been there, like Christian Brown and he have this unbelievable chemistry. Obviously, Jamal Murray and he are the 2 kind of linchpin cornerstones at the point guard position and the center position, in terms of like their ball screen being the tried and true method with which the offense really rolls together, right? Then Aaron Gordon's been in this scheme forever. Bruce Brown is not your typical addition insofar as he's been there forever, right? I kind of think that Jonas just like works in this scheme on some level just because of like the European connection and like they play like a style of basketball that kind of suits him in a real way. I think this is just like kind of an easy over. Like, I don't know if they win 60, but I do think they end up being the 2 seed in the West. And I think that they end up being really, really high level. Like I've been like trying to figure out like what the routes are to them going under this number. And I guess it would be like Cam Johnson has dealt with like some ankle stuff in the past, right?
Jamal
Murray obviously has dealt with knee things in the past. Like if Jamal plays 50, Cam Johnson plays 50. If those 2 play 50, I still might take the over. Like if you told me that Jokic was playing a full year, like 70 games plus, and those 2 guys only played 50, just given the depth and everything else, I don't know. Like I think they still might get like it'd be close to me at that point. Like I would have to stop and think.
To your comment right there, trivia time. Do you guys know how many seasons in his NBA career Nikola Jokic hasn't played 70 or more games?
Is it 0?
I would guess like 1. Yeah.
1. He played 69 games in 22-23, and that is the lowest games played of his entire career thus far.
Yeah. Look, I mean, to Andrew's point about the question, like we're talking about a generational player at the end of the day. Like the guy is just. I actually do think he's the best offensive player I've ever watched play basketball, and that includes like the prime LeBron years. Look, I think that LeBron, on both ends, like, still exceeded him at the end of the day. But I do genuinely believe that Jokic's offensive ability and his brain and the way that he thinks the game and the natural ball movement that he promotes and like the ability to grab and go on the break. And then he knocks down threes now. I mean, I just don't know. Like last season, genuinely, and I mean this, I think we said this during the MVP conversation, Bryce, like, I don't know if I have seen a better offensive season than what we saw from Jokic last year. Like he was so dominant. He was laughably dominant. He averaged 30, 13, and 10 assists. He shot 58, 42, 80. He had a true shooting percentage 15% above league average while averaging 10 assists per game from the center position. What in the world is that? How do you average 30 points per game, 15% above league average, and average 10 assists from the center position? That's fucking crazy, guys. Like, that is insane.
Did I make my Coors Field comp on here yet? Have I ever made that here? Bryce, you're aware what Coors Field is, right?
I caught a foul ball at Coors Field whenever I was a child. Dante
Did
Bichette.
you really?
Dante
Yes.
Bichette.
Okay. So it's where the Rockies play, and because of the elevation, baseball's carry further, and so offense is insane at Coors Field. I've been saying Jokic himself, he is Coors Field, that if you go play with him, your offense is inflated. And it's why like I'm high on Cam Johnson this year because he's going to get to play with Jokic. I didn't know what the Russ fit was going to be last year. He ended up having a fine season. Why? Because he got to play with Jokic. All the things that we mentioned about behind the scenes. And then the stat line Sam said, and they still had like a great offense and almost eliminated the champs in the playoffs. Like, he is a generationally great player. And to the point that a lot of times when people associate great offense, it's how well did you score? Like, it's who are the greatest scorers ever. He's an offensive system. Like, it's not just he's great. He and everybody else around him is great.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I'm going over here. They're just unbelievable. Like such a fun team to watch. Such a fun basketball team. Minnesota Timberwolves are up next. The Minnesota Timberwolves, we're sitting here at 49.5. They do lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They're going to have one of their younger guys step up and just kind of be able to play minutes. Somebody like Rob Dillingham or Terrence Shannon Jr., Jalen Clark, right? Like one of those guys is going to have to play. But they retain all of Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Mike Conley. So another team with like just great chemistry and synergy returning to the table. I will note that Rudy Gobert is 33 this year. Mike Conley is 38 this year. So there are some age-related, decline questions, I guess, in some respect. The number's 49.5. They have to win one more game than what they won last year. Andrew, I will start with you this time.
So
where are you on the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I am taking the over. I think I'm taking the over. Let me get my number real quick. Yeah, I'm taking the over. I am worried on behalf of Timberwolves fans that they peaked as a team that went to back-to-back conference finals. And I think my preseason predictions also say that they peaked because I have the Nuggets playing the Thunders in the conference finals. And one last bit of trivia from me. I tried to find some fun trivia for you guys. Can you name the other 4 teams this century that have made the conference finals in back-to-back seasons and didn't make a finals in either of those seasons?
The Buffalo Bills. No, I'm kidding.
Wrong century.
Yeah.
Made back-to-back conference finals, didn't make the finals.
Didn't make the finals in either season. Yes. In either of those 2 seasons. Yeah. So I'll give one, and Bryce, I'm hoping you'll know this, but the Pistons made it 3 straight times after making it in back-to-back years. So it's a bit of a comp that they made it 6 straight years, and in 2 of those years they made the finals. Obviously, one of them. There's 3 more. From one is within the last 10 years, one is within the last 15 years, and one is within the last 20 years.
Did the Dwight Magic do it?
So they
They
made the
did make
final
the finals
in
once,
2009.
but
Yeah.
I thought they might have made it a couple of times before they made the finals.
Made it in back-to-back years, and in the year that
Yeah.
they went beforehand, they went to the finals and then lost to a 4-seeded Celtics team that had eliminated LeBron, which then made him say he wants to go to Miami.
What about the
Yeah, like my immediate
Nash
reaction
D'Antoni
here,
Suns?
There you go. So the first year
That's
that
one.
Steve Nash was
Yeah.
in Phoenix, they made it. The second year without Amari Stoudemire, they made it and then lost in the conference finals. They beat a 7-seeded Lakers team. Kobe has the famous buzzer beater in game 4. And then the Lakers blow a 3-1 lead. And then they go 7. Here's a name for you, with Elton Brand and the Los Angeles Clippers. They never left LA for 2 rounds of the playoffs, and they lost to Dirk and the Mavs in the conference finals.
I'm like really trying to like rack my brain because like the obvious thing that stands out to me is that the LeBron years in the East where he made the finals like every year, right? So I'm like trying to think through.
Go down
like,
that track.
who
Go down that
made-
track.
Yeah, like who did that? I mean, like
LeBron
I'm
played
really
one
trying
team.
to remember.
LeBron played 2 different teams during his 8 straight finals in the East. 2 different teams. He played them in back-to-back years.
Oh, he always beat the Pacers. I felt like Is the
Pacers in
one of them?
back-to-back years in 12-13 and 13-14.
Okay.
The Roy Hibbert, Lance
Yeah.
Stevenson blowing in his face. Paul
I couldn't
George.
remember. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was like the semifinals or the finals for some reason off the top of my head. The Pacers definitely make sense. Yeah. And then there's
one more.
another one.
What have we
Oh
been
my
pro
God.
so far this show?
Celtics?
Pro Celtics. So the Isaiah Thomas Celtics
Ah,
made the conference finals as a 1 seed. Then they lost by 1,000 points in said conference finals. And then the following season, rookie Jason Tatum and an injured Kyrie and Gordon Hayward played LeBron in the finals. I guess Gordon Hayward and Kyrie didn't play, but that team still made the conference finals and lost to the Cavs in 7 games. And then it's why I'm worried about the Timberwolves. Like, it's just not a long history of teams that then get back there a third time and win. So I worry that they've peaked. I do think they can win 50 games still with Ant and the talent, and they finished 17-4 last year and really started to find something. I think some of that synergy will carry over. High on Rob Dillingham, obviously. Always love for Julius and Dante DiVincenzo, but I'll take the over with some playoff concerns.
yeah, I'm kind of in lockstep.
Bryce?
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with GMAC here. I have some playoff concerns as well. We'll see how the season plays out and what Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., Dillingham look like and how they round out the roster. But I am going to take the over. Similar to the East, 3 of the last 4 seasons, there have been at least 4 teams that have won 50 games. I have Minnesota as my 4th team in the West in the regular season right now. And so at 49.5, I will just take the over, thinking that they hit a 50-win season. And as we've talked about, I think Anthony Edwards has a real opportunity to really blow up this season as an offensive and defensive player. So I will very much buy into the over in their regular season, sharing some of the same playoff postseason concerns that GMAC outlined.
I'm also going over here. I really like this Minnesota team in general. I like to hear from like Anthony Edwards. Like Anthony Edwards does seem to come back with something new every year, which is really important and interesting. And the big thing that he seems to have like come back with this year is he's been talking about like the mid-range game, I guess. I think that will be somewhat helpful for them. What I would like to see is like the passing and playmaking be the real thing that takes a leap for him. I think that that's really what they're going to need, because I have my questions about Rob Dillingham as to whether or not he's going to be able to play minutes for this team, especially in high leverage situations. I think that what they need is that Ant needs to be able to like play as the combo, not the 2 guard, like needs to be able to play as the point and really run the show and make great decisions. Like, he does play on the ball a lot for Minnesota. That's not a new facet for them or anything, but just continuing to grow, continuing to mature, continuing to blossom in that regard. Nikhil is a big loss for them off the bench, but I think that they can make it work with Terrence Shannon Jr. and Jalen Clark. Like, I really like both of those players. I think they're NBA guys, and I think that they can at least, like, if we can't do it with one person, we can recreate him in aggregate, as Bryce's favorite movie Moneyball says. So I do think barely over. Like, look, this is one I'm completely staying away from because I think it's just like right on the money in terms of the number. I would say like 50 to 52 wins for Minnesota this year. I like the continuity. I like the fact that Ant just, like, I don't know what it is. Like, watching the media day clips of him, like, it does seem like he's always going to be himself, right? Like, he's always going to be who he is, but it does seem like there's like a little bit more of a natural leadership maturity kind of vibe, maybe. Maybe I'm over emphasizing media day and everything, but yeah, like I'm hopeful that they're like the continued natural leadership growth of Anthony Edwards kind of continues to lead them. This is one thing that I did consider though with Minnesota. They've just been very healthy, right? Even though these guys are a little bit older. Julius Randle, 69 games. Jaden and Nikhil played all 82 last year. Naz Reid played 80 games. Ant played 79. Gobert played 72. Mike Conley played 71. Like, there's been a lot of health there. And you do always wonder what that looks like, especially after back-to-back long postseason runs, which, as Andrew pointed out, they've had. But, we shall see if they're able to kind of make that work.
In fairness, Jaden and Anthony Edwards have been fairly healthy throughout their career. Naz has played back-to-back 80 games, 68, 76. Like, these are guys that, some of them are guys that, like, have throughout their career played a lot of games. So I think the comment is absolutely fair and understandable, but these are guys that have played, like, again, throughout their career have played a lot of games. But man, that is when you look Jaden 82, Nah 82, 79 from Ant. It is like there's a bet. I think betting on this is a little bit of a bet on Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., some of those young guys having big years, because Conley, I mean, it's waning rather quickly for him, along with the loss of Nah.
Okay. Next up, we have the two LA teams here. We're going to go with the Clippers first.
Yay.
Clippers won 50 games last season.
How many do they aspire to win this year?
They aspire to win 47.5. Bryce.
Real quick. We'd like to take a quick break to our sponsor, Aspire. I have, if you want, trees planted. You know who to call. We know who to call, and it's Pablo Torre. He'll find out.
Yeah. Shout out Pablo. I feel like we don't want to say that we're sponsored by a team that went bankrupt, or by a company that went bankrupt and may or may not have committed fraud. But the LA Clippers last year won 50 games. Were awesome on the defensive end, third in defensive efficiency. James Harden and Ivica Zubac both played 80 and 79 games. Kawhi only played 37 games. Norm Powell played 60 games. He is no longer on this roster, but in his place, Bradley Beal is now here. They traded for John Collins as well. Also signed Brook Lopez. Need to note that too. Interesting situation, like a lot kind of swirling around that team, as Andrew and Bryce have alluded to already. Bryce, I kind of think talent-wise, this team is very good. And I think depth-wise, this team is very good. I will be interested to hear your takes.
So the Hawks and the Clippers a few weeks ago were the teams that most likely to make me look like an idiot during this season, just with how high I was on them. And I'm staying there with the Hawks. We talked about that on the Eastern Conference over under. I just can't stay there with the Clippers. I love this roster, guys. Like, I truly do. I love the addition of Bradley Beal and John Collins, essentially for Norm Powell. As much as I love Norm Powell, I think Bradley Beal is still a productive basketball player, as we've outlined many times. I love the addition of Brook Lopez. We obviously talk about Zubac all the time. Harden had a awesome year last year. The problem is, like, I just don't know what to think about the vibes, how this all, like, I know we were kind of making a joke there, but I just don't know how all that's going to affect the season. It is to, like, the last comment, there's a lot of age. Like, there is depth, but it comes with a lot of age and history of not playing a lot of games sometimes.
So I do just want to point out one thing here that is something I've pointed out on the show before. If you talk to NBA people around the league, which I do, obviously, the Clippers are absolutely from like a training and like body and like making sure that like guys stay healthy and everything like that perspective. They are renowned league wide as the one that like stands above the other teams league wide because they've made significant financial investments into that regard through Ballmer and through what he's been able to do financially for the team. So with them, like, look, James Harden over the last 2 years has played 72 and 79 games. So he's played 151 out of possible 164 for the Clippers. Prior to that, he played 58, 65, 44, 68 during his time in like Houston, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. I think I am like a little bit more willing to hear out that the Clippers particularly do a really good job of getting their guys on the court. Even though Kawhi has obviously struggled to stay on the court, like even if you look at like Paul George, for instance, going back, like Paul George in his final year with the Clippers played 74 games, right? Now he played 56 the year before, but like, Paul got that deal with Philly because he stayed incredibly healthy. So I'm not saying you're wrong, Bryce. Like I hear these guys are definitely older, and older guys can break down, and that's the reality. I do just want to at least call out that like this team is very well renowned league wide for being able to keep their guys healthy.
Go ahead, G Missy.
I fully respect where you're coming from, Sam, and I appreciate that insight. First of all, for people watching on YouTube, did we communicate telepathically?
We did. We had a moment, and I was like, here's the thing. We already did the Spire BS and all that. And I'm like,
Sam's like, they've invested in their trading program. I've heard a lot about their investments this summer.
We got to leave it alone. We got to leave it alone. Let's keep it on basketball. Real quick, I'm on the under. With all of this said, I'm on the under.
I am also on the under. Not a crazy under.
Yeah,
I see a very significant path to the over, and it's that the unction ends up being a party, and that these guys end up, like you said, a renowned team when it comes to strength and health and taking care of their bodies, that they're able to play enough games that hits the over. They were a very good basketball team, especially going into the playoffs. I just sang the praises of what the Nuggets were, and guess what team pushed that team to 7? It was the Clippers of last season. This isn't just an old or an older team. Shout out to Tom Haberstroh who did the research. They're the oldest team in NBA history by aggregate. It's 33. The average age of 33.2, adjusted for playing time. The 4 teams behind them are the 2000-2001 Jazz, who just decided Malone and Stockton and friends were allowed to stay in Utah forever. The 97-98 Rockets, who had an average age of 32, and it was like this was the Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Sirius XM host Eddie Johnson. Like, it was that team. Now, the caveat to all of this is the next team on this list, right below those 3, is the 97-98 Bulls, the Last Dance Bulls. So there is an example of a team that old running the league. No disrespect to James Harden, he's not Michael Jordan in 98. So I'm taking the under with Father Time, while recognizing I do see a path to the over, and I'm not trying to be too disrespectful about it.
So the only reason I'm going over here, and this could be really dumb, right? Kawhi is healthy entering the year. If we get 60 Kawhi games this year, this is going way over.
Sure.
It just is. Like, when Kawhi is healthy, he's one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league, point blank. And then they have Zubac, who got all NBA votes last year, rightfully. Harden, who made all NBA team, probably shouldn't have, frankly, but like, whatever, reasonable minds can disagree. Harden had a great year last year. I'm not sitting here disparaging Harden. You replace Powell with Bradley Beal. I think that's like a fairly neutral like situation, honestly. Both do certain things really, really well. And I think that if you put Beal into that Powell mold and you allow him to be the guy that is getting the 3rd best matchups on the team, which he got in Phoenix, obviously playing next to Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. But I think this is just a more competent situation because they have Harden, they have a real point guard that they're going to be able to utilize and get him free shots, whereas Booker is just not quite there. I really liked the John Collins edition. Like, I'm just going to say that. It allows them to play big. I love the Brook Lopez edition for them because Brook is going to be able to play off the bench and give them like 48 minutes of great rim protection, which is something they did not have last year, and still finish 3rd in defensive rating. Whenever Zubac left the court, like, it was not all that sweet. Let's go with is actually quite difficult to be able to make that work. So I really like the way this team is constructed. I also kind of just wonder if all this stuff on the sidelines, right? All of this Kawhi aspiration stuff kind of gives them a little bit of like a fuck you mentality to everybody else in the league. Like, that feels like more of a thing that like allows you to rally together. Like, I don't think any of the players on the team are going to be looking away from Kawhi and being like, oh, this guy got $28 million or, less than that, I guess, because, he said it is media day that there's more than $7 million or whatever that he hasn't, that he still has coming to him. But I think it's actually really, really important for this team that like, this is potentially a cohesive thing to me where they could have like just a straight chip on their shoulder and it's like, all right, we're going to like fuck this thing up.
Yeah, I don't think it is I can see it not being a detriment. I don't know that it ends up being a rallying cry. Listen, I'm with you, Sam. Like, if we did this before all of the off the court stuff, I probably go over. I'm probably leaning in too much to like distraction, and especially since this is a veteran team, it probably isn't going to affect them. I'm with you though. I think the roster is really, really interesting, and I think if James Harden can replicate and Kawhi can be healthy, and the rest of the roster stays healthy, we didn't even mention Chris Paul, who started every game last year for a team, and now he's coming off the bench. So it is a very, very, very talented roster that it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm turning into a ton of Clippers games. I'll tell you guys that much.
It's 100% a chance to be a very fun season for, I keep going back to how many guys they have that were born before like the OJ Bronco chase. Like they have 8 guys that are age 31 and older, which they're the only team that has, I'm sorry, Sam. They have 8 guys age 31 or older. They're the only team in the NBA with at least 8. We're going to talk about another team in a little bit in Golden State that has 7. But like, if Kawhi plays 60 games, sure, he's done it once in the last 5 seasons. Now, it could happen for sure. There's too many paths from a father time standpoint that give them the under. So that's where I'm at the moment.
That
really got you. Apparently,
that did get me. Yeah, I'm gonna ride the talent and the fact that Kawhi's healthy, and if Kawhi gets to 60, this is just gonna like sky over. There are routes to this going like to 40. I think honestly, like if these guys just don't stay healthy, but
in this conference too. In this conference,
yeah,
like,
Oh man. Okay. Let's go to the Lakers. The Lakers are also at 47.5. They won 50 last year. They get a full season of Luka Doncic instead of Anthony Davis. They now have a little bit more depth. They have Jake LaRavia. They have DeAndre Ayton. They have Marcus Smart. They lose certainly Dorian Finney-Smith, who was a big piece of their team last season. It's an interesting number to me that I can't make heads or tails of. And I will just tell you 47.5 is just a straight stay away for me with the Lakers. I just don't know what this team's going to be. And I'm really, really, there are routes where it's way over to me. If Luka comes in and just goes like full beast mode and decides I'm winning MVP this year because I'm in shape and I'm rolling, there are routes to this going like way under if this thing just like isn't very cohesive.
I have the Lakers 5th in the West. Three of the last 4 seasons, the 5th seed in the West has won 49, 50 games. So I'm going to go over on this because I just think that's where LA is going to land. I am all in on the Luka season and what he's going to be this year with the Lakers. I think LeBron it's interesting where he's going to land in all of this. I think people know by now I am an Austin Reeves fan. We talked about DeAndre Ayton being one of the most important players in the NBA this season, and that not being hyperbole. I think when we talk about outs and paths and all of that, the path to this looking silly is DeAndre Ayton not figuring it out in LA, but I think there is a path that he does and ends up liking playing with Luka Doncic. And we'll see what Marcus Smart has left. I like Jake LaRavia. You have Rui Hachimura still. I'm just, more than anything, this is a bet on Luka Doncic, but I've come around to liking this roster that won 50 games last year in JJ's first season. So I think they're going to be the 5th seed. I think the 5th seed in the West probably has a chance to win 50 games, at least 48 or 49. So I am going over on the Lakers.
Bryce, we gotta stop doing our notes together. I also have the Lakers as the 5th seed in the West, and I have them as a slight over. I'm more with Sam that this is a stay away. They went 29-15 their final 44 games of the season last year. 18-10 when both Luka, after they got Luka, and specifically with Luka in the lineup, they went 18-10. LeBron is a cyborg. And in doing some of the research of who are the older teams, I guess I just kind of associated the Lakers as one of the older teams because of LeBron, but he's 8 years older than the next closest teammate in age, which is Maxi Kleber. And then it's like Marcus Smart. And I don't know how I would function at my job if I was 8 years older than the next closest in age employee. I'd probably make them hire my son. I think this is a very slight over, with the chance that what we saw during March when they were really clicking is what they are, and that they're just a really good regular season team. So I'll take a very slight over with the chance that it could go very over, or maybe LeBron, this is the year that Father Time actually catches up with him and he plays 40 whatever games. But I'll take the very slight over on the Lakers.
So I'll be honest, I don't even have an answer on this yet. And you guys have pitched me a little bit here on my immediate answer was just like very, very slightly under. Like they win like 46-47. But here's the thing. So looking through my picks, by the way, so far we've done 5 teams. This is the 6th team we've done. I have 4 overs, 1 under. Overall, I have 6 overs and 9 unders in the West. So we're about to go real dire for me real quick here in a hurry. And the team that was closest for me is the Lakers. So I'm kind of trying to decide, like, okay, just mathematically, right? Like, I do think there is a difference between the top 7 teams in the West and the next kind of group of teams. Is there going to be like a real split, right? Is there a chance there's like a real gap between those teams? I think there is. And I do think that I do want to be in the business of betting on Luka Doncic this year, where he feels like disrespected and feels like things have not gone according to plan after making 5 straight All-NBA first teams and then getting traded by the Dallas Mavericks, which is still the craziest thing that has happened in the NBA in so many years. LeBron is going to turn 41 in December. That is the craziest thing in the world to me, that this guy is still like an all NBA caliber player at 41 years old. Austin Reeves, I think, is outstanding. The thing that worries me a little bit here is just they got 70 games from Anthony Davis and Luka last year, like the combination of the two. They got 73 from Reeves and they got 70 from LeBron. And they won 50. If one of those guys goes down, do they have the depth to make up for it? I think they might, because like they do have real shot creation on this team. Like all three of those guys are real, true shot creators in the NBA. And they do have like enough depth now in terms of role and rotation players where it's like Laravia and Smart and all of these guys that can come in off the bench and like maybe knock down shots or be super high level defensively. Jared Vanderbilt, only played 36 games last year. That could be of use to them, right? So I think you guys have sold me on the over. I think you guys have sold me on like 48 wins, 48, 49, 50 wins. I do have the Clippers ahead of them. I actually do have the Lakers 7th for what it's worth in the West. But it's because I'm really high on the next team. So you guys have sold me on the over for the Lakers, though.
Perfect. Yeah, I thought about the what if one of them is missing, and I think LeBron, from just playing with Anthony Davis and his injury struggles, he has a history, at least a recent history, of being able to succeed with his co-star out. I'd argue Luka, the majority of his time in Dallas, whether it was Porzingis or Kyrie suffering through an injury, knows what it's like to be the guy in a heliocentric offense. So I think they can survive if one of them is out, and I like the pieces but around him. They were playing Jackson Hayes and Dalton Connect significant minutes last year. Those guys are backups this season. So Marcus Smart now as a backup is a good addition. Laravia, as you mentioned. I also like Austin Reeves. I like the talent here. In a different conference, I actually think I'd have him even higher. So yeah, I'll take a slight over on the Lakers.
Okay. Golden State Warriors, their total is 46.5. Last year, they won 48 games. I'm just going to straight up tell you, I am way higher on the Warriors than what this number is. This team was a absolute buzzsaw to finish the year last year. They were awesome late last year, especially on the defensive end. And I am a believer in the Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Stephen Curry combination. Speaking of age, this team is going to be the first team to ever have 4 starters that are 35 years old or older. Is that what it is? First team, because I can't remember if Dre is 35 or not. It's going to be like right.
He's close.
Yeah, he just turned 35. So yeah, it's 4 starters 35 or older, and Dre, Steph, Jimmy, and Al Horford. I still think this team's just going to be awesome, and I'm going over. But I will be fascinated to hear what you guys say.
I'm
Andrew,
over.
you can go first.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'll answer quick. I'm also over. I'm much more slight on my over than Sam is. I have them just a hint behind the Lakers. I mentioned during the conversation about the Clippers. The Clippers have 8 guys age 31 and older. The Warriors snuck in there to get 7 with getting Al Horford. I have some concerns about age. I also am a big believer in just Steph Curry being additive, and in the 22-5 stretch that, it's technically 24-7 overall, but 22-5 when him and Jimmy Butler were in a lineup together last year. So, yeah, I think the age concerns will, for the Warriors in particular, will more come up in a playoff run. But as far as a regular season wins machine, I'm just not counting against Steph Curry. I'll take the over.
Yep, I'm slight over as well. So not nearly the, aggressiveness that Sam has on him. I'm probably a little bit closer to GMAC, but people know Steph Curry is my favorite player all time. I am going to take advantage of seeing as much of him play basketball as I can, as I assume that we're in somewhat of the twilight of his career, entering his age 37 season. And I listen, I was not as high on the Jimmy Butler addition and how he would fit as what Sam was. Sam called it from the beginning, and I very much, came to enjoy that. I think Al Horford makes a lot of sense. I like some of the other role players. We'll see what the Jonathan Kuminga player on the court now looks like here for Golden State. But I have them in that 6-7, 5-6-7 range, and slight over based on that.
Yeah, basically every lineup that Jimmy Butler was in, like you can look at any 3-man lineup with Jimmy Butler last year and you'll be like, oh yeah, this team was freaking awesome when they got him, right? Butler, Draymond, Moses Moody, plus 9.5. Butler, Draymond, Pajemski, plus 13.5. Curry, Butler, Green, those guys played 500 minutes together, plus 5.5. Butler, Moody, Pajemski, plus 11. Steph, Butler, Moody, plus 5. Like, Butler, Draymond Green, Quentin Post, plus 12 last year. Like, this team was obscenely good after they got Jimmy Butler. They were ridiculously good. And I think that that's just going to continue to be the case, right? Like, Jimmy Butler, Buddy Hield, Brandon Pajemski last year was plus 20. They were just completely monstrous on both ends by the time they got Jimmy Butler. And I'm absolutely just going to continue to ride with that fact. I think that Jimmy is probably the most underappreciated player of his era, realistically, like given what we've seen from him in the playoffs. Draymond Green might be the second most underappreciated player from his era, given that there are just a significant number of haters, given the fact that he continues to make poor decisions on the court, from a not keeping his hands to himself all the time decision-making process. But he's the best defender of his era, in my opinion. I thought that he was the best defensive player in the league, bar none, for the last third of the year last season. I had him first team all defense. I didn't have him as my full year defensive player of the year, but basically from that last third of the way onward, there was no more dominant force defensively in the league than Jimmy Butler, than Draymond Green. And then you had Steph, and like Bryce said, Steph is like purely additive. He is a monstrous dominant player who is so good offensively and just creates so much gravity for your overall scheme. Adding Al Horford, I think, also creates like real gravity for them, being able to step away and shoot. He did lose a step defensively, I thought, last year in terms of his overall foot speed, but this is a team that's playing like Trace Jackson Davis and Quentin Post and guys like that. Like, they're used to having to make up for that. And I think that Draymond's honestly the perfect player to be able to account for that within scheme because of how smart Horford is on the defensive end. You know that Horford is going to be positionally sound every single time. And Draymond's going to be able to play off of that at a really, really high level, I think, not having to make these chaos rotations. He's going to be able to even more consistently, in my opinion, like bait what defenders or what offensive players are trying to do and like cause them like all sorts of issues in terms of forcing turnovers. So I think this is going to be a top 10 defense. I think they're obviously going to be quite good on offense now that they have real shot creation. Again, with Jimmy there for a full year. I think this team has like a real shot to finish third in the Western Conference. Third, fourth, something in that ballpark.
Love it.
Love it. That's spicy. I like it.
Maybe that's like my Raptors level hot take for the West is like, I am basically just very, very in.
I don't think being in on the Warriors is anything. It's not that. I shouldn't say spicy because this is a very recently removed dynasty that won the title 3 years ago. So I do agree that they were 22-5 with Butler and Steph together. So it's there is a sample for them winning 55 games next year. I'm just a little more concerned about the age on this team.
Okay, I'll ask you guys this question. Did the fact that the San Antonio Spurs are the next team on this list surprise you? Like that they have the next highest projected win total?
Only by one spot, so I would say no. Like they were like what? So this would make them 8th in the order, and I have them 9th in the West. So, like, no.
It didn't surprise me in the order. It surprised me in the number.
Sure.
So 44.5 is the number here. They won 34 games last season. Full season of Victor Wembanyama will be absolutely massive for them. Full season of De'Aaron Fox will be absolutely massive for them. They bring in Kelly Olynyk and Luke Cornett to kind of round out the front court as well. This is a really, really fun, potent basketball team now that I think just has like a very wide delta in terms of what their outcomes could be. To use Bryce's favorite word that I use consistently.
I
So
just
Bryce,
checked my bingo card.
Mark the bingo card. There it is.
yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna take the under. This is a team that won 34 games last year. I understand that it was like, you get Fox in the middle of the season. Wemby only plays 46 games. I understand all of that. I think they're gonna take a real jump. I think they're definitely a play-in team for me, but even a 10-win jump is, a under for this, and where I have them, in my list of Western Conference teams, this is just an under. The 9th ranked team has averaged 41 wins. I think this is probably a team that wins 42 or 43. Now, if Wemby plays 82 games this year, like, this could change. But I don't think Wemby's going to come back off a year where he played 46 and had an injury and play 82 games. I think we're closer to, 65, even if he's relatively healthy, just to make sure he's eligible for postseason awards.
And just to, speak to this, because you are somebody who dealt with a player last year that had a blood clot with Asar Thompson, right? Because that's the injury here. And they did really limit Asar's minute load coming back off the blood clot. I can only imagine, given San Antonio's track record and given how important Wemby is for them long term, like, I don't know if he's playing 35 minutes off the rip. It's kind of my thing. Maybe he is, and maybe they're just gonna. I'm certain that they have better medical information than I do, but like I just don't know if that's immediately going to be the case. Maybe it's like 25 to 30 as opposed to him like really letting it rock.
Yeah, and I guess injury was probably the wrong term for blood clot, but and then also, like, I do think they're a unique team in terms of how much do you. Like, I know Dylan Harper, he has his own injury he's dealing with, but like, how much are you leaning into like Harper, Castle, Sohan? Do we see Carter? Like, how much do you play the young guys? And some of those lineups could be clunky versus I do like the veterans they added and have on the roster. So I do think there's a little bit of, hey, let's make sure we're playing these young guys and still getting information on them. And that might equate to 2 or 3 less losses. So this isn't an under where I'm like, oh, the San Antonio is not going to be a real like competitive play-in level team this year. It's just like, I don't see 45 plus wins. I'm more, like I said, 42, 43.
So this team was, just for what it's worth, when Wemby went out, they were 23 and 29 last year. So like they were not just your normal 34 win team. Obviously, like they really pulled the ripcord late in the year. Like, I think that they were 31 and 39 at one point and ended up going 3 and 9 or something in their last 12 games, just to like really try and, get this thing as close as possible to the bottom so that they could get a high draft pick with that Carter Bryant pick. Or was it with the Harper pick? I'm sorry. I just think there's like a wide range of outcomes on a lot of these players. Andrew, where do you sit on the Spurs?
Bryce, stop looking at my notes. I literally wrote they could win 10 more games than they did last year, and it still hit the under. I have the under. I have them finishing in the play-in. Those are the positive progressive steps if they do that, especially if Wemby plays 65 games or whatever, makes enough to qualify for All-NBA. Between them taking baby steps through this season with his health and some youth between Harper and Castle and Carter Bryant, it's a team that in a different, if they're in the East, I'm probably as high on them as you are on the Raptors, Sam. Not in the sense of they're the same rosters, but I think they could win a lot of games in this conference. In this conference, where we just went through like 7 different teams that could conceivably win 50 games. I'm taking the under while recognizing I'm just going to stay with my thoughts on Wemby, that it's just always going to be a moment during every game he's in, or maybe a week that he's playing, that, hey, this guy looks like he's going to dominate the league not too very soon. So like that, I'm not trying to speak negatively about the Spurs, but I do think they'll hit the under this year.
Yeah, this was hard for me too, because like I think that getting De'Aaron Fox is like a massive upgrade on their point guard position last year. I think Dylan Harper's a huge help and is going to be additive as a rookie for sure. Steph Castle will be better as well. Wemby will probably be better than what we saw last year even. I think Cornette's like a sneaky big addition for them. He's just a really good player. He's like probably the 30th-ish best center in the league, right? And having like a real backup or a guy that they could maybe play with Wemby from time to time in those super big lineups that we've seen teams employ kind of gives them a few different, options to kind of play with. Olynyk gives them like a spacing option that they can play with if they want to continue to play 5 out, or, if you want to play Olynyk Wemby, that really gives you the spacing that you might need around Fox and Castle to play, right? So when Harrison Barnes is out, for instance. So they have a lot of flexibility lineup wise in a way that I like. I think the number is just like dead on, to be honest. Like I think that this team wins like somewhere between 42 and 45 games this year is kind of where I'm at. It's a total stay away. I ended up going under because I just think it's like it's going to be very close, and 10 wins felt like a lot to me, 11 wins realistically. But yeah, I think they're like a 42 to 45 win team. I don't really have a strong lean on this, but I did go just like very slightly under, just because it felt like a big leap to go from. It's easy to go from like 18 to like 40 wins. I think that's like a little bit easier than it is to go from like 34 to like 46 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. Next. The Dallas Mavericks. 40.5 is the number we're chasing here. They won 39 last year. They bring in Cooper Flagg. They lose Kyrie Irving for the full year. They also just have a very funky looking roster, obviously, between all of their many bigs and forwards like Daniel Gafford and Anthony Davis and Derek Lively, on top of PJ Washington and Cooper Flagg, whose best positions are probably the 4. Najee Marshall is not like a great shooter, and then you mix him with like all of the bigs. That's not always ideal necessarily. Klay Thompson is still on this roster. What do we do with Klay Thompson, right? Probably really important from a shooting perspective and a spacing perspective, but how do you get all these guys on the court is kind of my question, because honestly, in terms of Klay's movement skills, like he's more of a 3-4 at this point, just in terms of like who he guards best right now, in my opinion. So Bryce, I'll start with you. The Dallas Mavericks, 40.5. What is your thought?
And I agree with everything you said. And I still have them as the 8th team in the West. And the 8th team in the West, the low win total is 42 over the last 4 seasons, which means I have to go over. And I don't like it. I definitely don't love it. I don't think it's going to be by a lot. Like this team just like strikes me as a 41-41 team. There's obviously injury stuff with this roster as well. I can't go through the pre-draft process talking about Cooper Flagg the way we talked about and not think he's going to have a really good rookie season. I think Anthony Davis, when healthy, is a tremendous basketball player. Think about where we had him on our all defensive, roster and episode. I love the centers. I like PJ Washington. I realize this is like just a crazy bet on D'Angelo Russell being good in the regular season and at least being able to score points. I don't buy this team in the playoffs at all. I do think there's a lot of talent across the front line at least. And not like I love Najee Marshall. Maybe that's part of this as well. They have just enough in the backcourt to be a 500 basketball team this year. So I'm going over, and I don't feel great about it.
The number is very appropriate, because I have a hard time thinking this team can't win 41 games. I mean, just from editing and being around you two over the last year, I've heard the praises sung of Cooper Flag, and obviously I'm expecting big things from him. I think I'm a little more confident in the over hitting than the under, if that makes any sense. Like I do think this is more of a stay away than anything, but this team just has so much talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. In fact, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this phrase, but defense wins championships. I don't think it's going to win a championship this year. I do think it's going to win.
Nico, is
games.
that you?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think the phrase should change to defense wins 42 games. If you're talking about a poster to put outside the Mavericks arena this year. I have no idea how many games Anthony Davis is going to play. I have no idea how many games. I mean, Clay's actually been a beacon of health, so I shouldn't say outside of like the 2 years that he missed with his knee and his Achilles. They also, I like their depth. Like Daniel Gafford was starting finals games and now he's a backup. PJ Washington, I liked him when he went there, and now I like him still with Najee Marshall. Like Max Christie is like an 11th man in certain situations on this team. So I think there's enough talent to win 42 games. I think we're waiting for Kyrie to come back to actually see if the blueprint that Nico came up with in his head actually amounts to anything. So yeah, I'll take the over, but not a strong over.
Over the last 7 years, how many times do you think Anthony Davis has been eligible to win awards? So 65 or more games.
7 years?
7 years?
7 years.
3, 2,
5. Oh,
he's been eligible to,
as in missed 5 of them. So I'll say 2.
Yeah, 2 times. So in 2020, he played 62 games, which was, a significant portion of that season. I think they played 71. And then in 2024, he played 76 games, 51 games, 76 games, 56, 40, 36, 62, 56 over his last 7 years. So I think we should go into the year assuming Anthony Davis is going to miss 20 games, right? Where do they create shots if Anthony Davis misses 20 games?
D'Angelo Russell and Cooper Flag.
Defense creates offense.
That's why they have so many front court players, Sam. They are more equipped than anybody to handle not having Anthony Davis with all of their front court players.
Maybe if they had like a Luka type, maybe they could get him and create more offense that way.
So here's the other thing for me that I think is like pretty relevant this year. This is the last season where they have their own draft pick until I believe 2031. So if this goes like even middling through 50 games, like if they're like 24 and 26 through 50 games, they are probably pretty incentivized to pull the ripcord in order to get like a high lottery pick that they can either then trade that high lottery pick for, win now, which Nico seems to want to do, or they can do it in order to go get another great player potentially in this draft, right? To pair with Cooper Flag long-term. So I don't know if Nico's willing to do this. He seems like he wants to contend and do everything, but like if they are even close to not making the playoffs, they should really pull the ripcord and like tank this thing. And let Kyrie have like a full year to come back healthy and let AD, have a season where he gets healthy and give Cooper Flag all of the on-ball reps in the last 20 games. Just let him rock. Let him figure it out. And if there's one thing we know about the NBA, it's that we can think Cooper Flag is as great as he is. And God knows, I think that guy's going to be a top 5 player in the NBA at some point. But it doesn't go super well when you have teenagers handling the ball in the NBA. So I'm going under here. I think under, and I think that they miss the play-in. Because I think that they will potentially try to miss the play-in at some point. Because it makes sense for them to try to miss the play-in.
It just made a very compelling case, Sam. Not going to lie. I like the talent still enough to win 41 games, but maybe they're a Portland pivot candidate, that they notice
I
where
think
they are, that they're headed
this
for
is
41 games and they pivot.
this is to me the Portland pivot candidate in the
Alright.
NBA this year. Okay. The Memphis Grizzlies, 40.5. This is a team that has struggled to stay healthy over the course of the last couple of years, but did win 48 games last year. They've traded Desmond Bane essentially for future capital in addition to KCP, who is now on this team. They are dealing with injuries. You know, Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson are not going to be healthy to start the year. Seems like Jaren's a little bit further off than Edey. Edey is, I don't know, maybe like 2 months, it feels like still. Jaren, you know, has the injury. I don't totally know even when Jaren is supposed to get back. They do have Ja Morant, though, potentially. And Ja Morant, like, looked amazing late in the year, especially against Oklahoma City in those 3 games. I thought that he was not the problem for them. And I kind of think he's going to come in like extremely motivated to kind of show who he is and what he's capable of. So I think the world of this team's overall internal infrastructure. I think everybody knows that. Like I think the world of their front office and their scouting and identification. We'll see with the coaching staff. Like I think Isalo, you know, showed me a couple of things in the playoffs in terms of adjustments, but wild card, like we're not going to sit here and pretend to know what's going on. But I do know from talking to people over in Europe how highly respected he is in terms of being a very, very high level coach. I just don't. This is like the purest of stayaways for me because, man, I think that they could be really good if Jaren and Ja are like fully healthy in January and this thing rolls. But those guys not being healthy early on, if this team was fully healthy, I would take over this number pretty easily. But given that they're not fully healthy, I can't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I've bounced back and forth on this one within the episode because I have another team that I'm okay changing to under. And so I've gone back and forth and I talked myself into the over because I do like Jaren Jackson Jr. so much. And I like the depth of the roster. And then whenever you talk about the injuries again, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, can I really, what do I think they're going to end up doing? Can they get to 500 even, you know, accounting for the fact that I think they're going to be injured? And this spot in the West where I have them, which is 10th, has a wide delta of results over the last 4 years. Anywhere from 34 wins to 46 wins has been the 10th seed in the West. I'm going to stay with my over, but man, it's not by much. And to your point, Sam, I think it's going to just be a bet on maybe there's a little bit of health luck finally in Memphis.
Okay. Andrew?
I'm wrestling with the over or the under even as I'm making the pick now because it's everything we've talked about. Sam, you've sung the praises of their front office, but more specifically their coach, and games 3 and 4 of the playoffs, both when they had Ja and then didn't have Ja in that series. You saw what he can do creatively. I value Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot. And like you said, January, the last timeline I saw was 4 to 6 weeks before he's back on the court for a reevaluation. If this is like a season where Jaren Jackson Jr. plays 40 games, I think that's significant to what they're trying to do, especially when you're also missing Edey, when you're also missing Clark. I mean, just add in, they're also missing Bane. Like they're missing, as much as I like respect what Caldwell Pope is as a role player, asking him to be Desmond Bane is a bit too much for me. So I think I'm taking the under. I see if there's a health luck path to the over. You brought up the Mavericks having their pick. The Grizzlies have their pick too. And in a loaded conference, maybe it's evident earlier on that they, again, the pivot if they want to. So I'll take the under, but I do like a lot of the players on this team. Like there is a lot of talent on this team too. So I'll take the under.
Yeah. I'm taking under. If this was a healthy team coming into the season, I'd be like, yeah, like I'm for this. But man, so like just looking at this, right? So they did release this medical update. Brandon Clark, obviously, is without a timeline right now because he has right knee synovitis, which is going to require an arthroscopic procedure to address. We don't even have a timeline. Zach Edey is 6 to 9 weeks, and then Jaren Jackson is 4 to 6 weeks. So the Grizzlies, by and large, like in my experience at least, like tend to be very conservative. Like that, I would bet they're on like the upper end of those numbers would be my read. That's 15 games, maybe more than 20 for Edey, right? Like, if he's not back until 2 months from now, that's like early December. That feels tough. Like that feels really tough because the Edey Jaren combo I thought was like quite good last year. And then you lose Clark, who, is another depth piece on the interior. So what they're starting interior right now, let's call it, looks like what Santi and I mean, like, is there a chance it's like GG Jackson early in the year? Honestly, like at the 4, like, is it GG? It could be. And then it's like Wells, KCP, and Ja with Ty Jerome and, Vince Williams and, maybe Cedric Coward coming off the bench, right? Like something like that. And Scottie Pippen, obviously, too. Scottie will be there, and it'll be Scottie and Jerome running the show. They should have an amazing bench unit between Scottie and Jerome. Like that once they are healthy, I think they far exceed this 40 win pace. It's just when do they get healthy is my question.
No, it's fair.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Marcus is saying, media day update for Jaren was missing 1 to 10 games, and for Edey it's 10 to 20. I mean, look, like 4 to 6 weeks is more than 1 to 10 games, and that's what they said. Like there's literally a release I'm staring at from like last week on September 26th that says 4 to 6 weeks, and like I just don't find it likely that he'll be ready for game 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. So maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
Yeah. One last thing. There's the last 2 seasons, there's been one team in the West, because of how loaded the West is, that we look at the end of the season and there's that bottom 5, and there's one team that nobody thought would be in that bottom 5. And it's like, what are you doing here, Pelicans? What are you doing here, Memphis from 2 years ago? And it's usually a snake bitten by injuries team. I don't think this will be them, but it's just, again, it's the nature of the West. Like you could be a 35 win team, which in the East would be like, oh, you're in a play-in race. But in the West, it's just you're 12th. So I think if they're healthy, they could exceed this very well. I don't think I want to see it first before I project it.
Sacramento Kings, they won 40 last year. They traded De'Aaron Fox, brought in Zach LaVine, as well as some draft picks. Nick Clifford is on this roster now. Shout out Nick Clifford. We're fans of Nick Clifford here. But the vibes don't feel great to me, honestly. Like I don't like just being as simple as the vibes, but like the vibes don't feel super hot right now to me. I know they had a winning record under Doug Christie last year, right? Like it is absolutely worth noting that, but I don't know that, I saw like a ton going on there, like schematically, where I was like, this is, this makes sense. It's a team that has like sneaky depth, I think. LaVine, DeMar, Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, Keon Ellis. Like you can go down the board here. Like we still like Devin Carter. Like Nick Clifford might be pretty useful, I think. Like you can get to 9 deep on this team and be like, okay, like this might be a group here. Like we might have a stew going, to quote Carl Weathers. But I don't know. This feels like a tough one to me. Andrew, I'll let you go first on the Sacramento Kings. 35.5 is the number we got to get to.
Going under. If there was a world where I could have the Levine DeRozan Bulls play the Levine DeRozan Kings in a 7-game series, I'd watch it just to see like the test case and see what it looks like. I think this team is slightly worse than that team, and I don't think that team was anything more than like a 41-42 win team. I like Sabonis a lot, so maybe that's like disrespectful to Sabonis. I just think you got to surround him with guys that don't need the ball, and these are two primary guys that need the ball. I also wonder if there's another move in them to not necessarily get better, but to get worse. The Kuminga stuff from the entire offseason was interesting. I'll just take the under. Again, I just think in a different conference it'd be a different story, but for now I'll take the under.
Yep. I'm going under as well. I don't have this team, in my top 10 at all or close to it. They're trending down over the last 3 years, 48 wins, 46 wins, 40 wins. I think they will continue to trend down enough to get under this 35.5 number. This was a pretty quick decision for me. While I want to emphasize, I love a lot of the individual players on this team, including recent draft picks, not only Nick Clifford and Devin Carter, but also Maxime Renault, who was one of my darlings of the draft. Love Keegan Murray.
Even like Dylan Cardwell. Like I liked Dylan Cardwell pre-draft.
Yeah,
and he's on a two-way here.
Yeah. I have respect for Dennis Schroeder after what he did in Detroit last year and what he's done on the international stage. People know that Malik Monk is one of my favorite players in the league that's not a star. I just don't like this team as a whole. So I will go under.
Man, this is tough. There's just only one ball is the problem. Like there's only one ball to go around, and Dennis Schroeder likes to dribble, and Zach LaVine has gotten better at not dribbling like the air out of the ball over his time, but he does like to dribble a little bit. DeMar obviously likes to dribble quite a bit. Sabonis likes to have the ball in his hands, like for the center position, right? It just feels like a team where we look at
how good are some of those guys defensively, Sam?
No comment. It looks like a team where the sum of it just doesn't reach the sum of its parts, right? Because of the defense, because of the fact that there's only one ball. Like, what do you do with DeMar DeRozan on this roster? Frankly, what do you do with is Dennis Schroeder going to be happy if he only gets 10 shots or whatever, right? I don't know. He got 9 per game for Detroit, but then it felt like he was a little bit better in the playoffs. And then he's coming off of a massive summer with Germany where he was awesome in Eurobasket again, right? So it just feels like a team where it's less than the sum of its parts to me. And someone mentioned, I think it might have been you, Bryce, that they're kind of trending downward, right? And it does feel like they are trending downward a little bit to me. The other thing that kind of makes this an under for me is it just feels like a team that's ripe for a trade at the end of the day. And I just don't know how you make a deal that makes you better right now for some of these players, right? Like if you're doing a Levine deal, if you're doing a Sabonis deal, you're probably getting more future-based value, I would guess. So I would think that even hinders them a little bit. It does just feel like it. And honestly, it's a conference-based under to me too. Like if you put this team in the Eastern Conference and the line was 35.5, I'd probably take over, right? But given they have to play more West teams than East teams, it just feels a little bit tough, right? It feels like that's a big number for me to get to. I do think they win 30, but I don't know that they get to 35 is where I'm at.
30 is literally the number I wrote down. I think this team's going to lose 50 games. And we're about to talk about two teams too that I'm just slightly higher in the 30s on than them. I'm talking about ranking the 30-win teams or projected 30-win teams, I'm higher on the teams we're about to talk about.
Okay, so let's move to one. Let's move to the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers are in a funky, spot where they won 36 last year. Their line is 33.5. They added Drew Holiday. They lose DeAndre Ayton, who might be additive on the Lakers, but was not additive to the Blazers last year in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. Scoot is injured. I don't know if you guys have seen the Shaedon Sharpe reports coming out of Portland training camp. A lot of the vets are very excited about Shaedon Sharpe. Basically all of the vets have brought up Shaedon as this looks like a dude here. So that's exciting and really interesting, right? If he can be a real dude, it really changes their trajectory. They lose Anthony Simons, who they obviously moved for Drew Holiday. I think that's an upgrade for this year, at least. They still have Bryce and I's beloved Tomani Kamara. Denny Avdia had a massive explosion late in the season that I thought was awesome. I would have had Donovan Clingan first team all rookie because of how good he was on defense as a rookie. I mean, this feels like a team that wins more than 33 games to me. So it's not going to come as any surprise, I think, to people that listen to the show regularly that I have an over on Portland, given that I think they're better than last year when they won 36 games. But Andrew, you go first. Where are you on the Portland Trailblazers?
They're going to be such a pain to play on the defensive side of the ball. They were
really
such a pain
are.
to play. They were so annoying to play last year, and now they have Drew Holiday. And even if Drew Holiday isn't what he was 5 years ago, that doesn't mean he's bad, especially on the defensive end. So they're going to be a nightmare to play. They remind me of Orlando without Paolo and Franz when they had that identity of just being an annoying team to play, or 2 years ago, Houston that won 41 games. Maybe if all these Portland pivot candidates, ironically, we're talking about the Blazers, if all these other teams decide to pull the ripcord and you have this young team deciding, hey, let's try to go for it, they went closer to 40. But again, some of it's conference based. In the East, I think this is a 9 seed. In the West, they're an 11 seed. But I'm going to be very impressed by what they put together, and I think they will be every team's man, we had to go to Portland last night. I'm bruised. You want to talk about betting advice? If a team went to Portland and has a back-to-back the next night, I just take the money line for the other team. So I'll take Portland's over on here, and I'm very impressed by what they're building from an identity standpoint.
So one thing I do want to call out on the Portland pivot idea here, they do owe a lottery protected first to Chicago right now. So
they've no incentive.
If they are on the cusp of making the play-in, I'd be interested to know how they would handle that situation. I honestly think they might just be let's send the pick.
They do
because it's
they could do the Dallas thing.
Yeah,
it would be the worry. They do the Dallas thing to keep the pick.
Still annoyed about that, by the way.
They could, but also,
they could not
lottery protected for the next 3 years. They might just decide let's pull the ripcord now,
get it over with.
Maybe we don't love the 2026, back end of the lottery or something, and let's just open up what we have flexibility wise in terms of our picks. So I don't think this is a pure, they would tank if they're in this situation. I don't know how they would handle the situation, I think is what I would say.
My vibes are this is a team that wants to win. I have them 11th in the West. GMAC, you mentioned 11th in the West. I'm not sure that you were saying you predicted them there, but just you mentioned 11th. The lowest win total for the 11th in the West over the last 4 years is 33 wins. This was a very easy over based on that and based on just me liking this team. If you ask me what the path to them winning under this, it's that the offense just can't be carried by a Shaedon Sharpe who doesn't grow, a Denny Avdia whose last 30 or 40 games last year was an admiration and not truly what he can do, and no development offensively from a Tomani Kamara, Donovan Clingan, etc. I think that there's a world where that does happen. I don't think it's to the extent where they don't win at least 34 games with the defense I think they're going to have.
I do have them 11th, by the way, like right behind Memphis. And if Memphis like is even more snake bitten by injuries this year, potentially, I have them like being a playing team. And look, them missing
Sam has them as a playing team.
them being a playing team, they still could finish lottery protected. Like it's a lottery protected, not a top 10 protected pick.
Look, I have them very close with Dallas, right? Like they're right on the edge to me. And the only reason is because I think Dallas, I think, is more incentivized to pull the ripcord this year than what Portland is, to be honest. Yeah, look, I've been very clear. Like I love this team for all the reasons that Andrew said, right? Like they are going to like batter you every night on defense. They have a serious, true identity on that end between Kamara, Klingon, even like if you want to, dust off Matisse Thybulle for a few minutes here and there. Like Matisse Thybulle's a multiple time all defense guy. Rob Williams, like if Rob Williams is healthy, this team is absolutely miserable to play against on the interior. Avdia, man, like the thing that goes kind of unsaid about Denny is just how fucking physical he is. Like he absolutely just puts his shoulder into you on offense, like when he has the ball, and is going to try and batter you, like to get all the way to the rim. And he gets there a lot of the time too. So, man, like this team is physical. It's tough. I'm really interested to see how they're going to handle the just overall point guard position, right? Because like it's not my immediate reaction that Drew Holiday is a point guard anymore. And I think early in the year, while Scoot is out, he probably does have to do a little bit of that, especially because I don't think Shaden can play point. How do they initiate offense early in the year is like a real question mark to me, kind of entering this year. And is Drew just going to be capable of doing that? And can they be anything better than like the 23rd best offense in the league? Like, I think that's how this goes under, right? They finished 23rd in offense last year without Scoot. If Shaden just kind of is who he is, right? And then you have Drew Holiday and you have all these like defensive minded guys, are they going to be like 28th or 29th or 27th in offense, right? Like, is that a potential outcome here? But I think they're going to be a little bit better than that. I do think Scoot ends up hopefully coming back and being a little bit better and looking better. Hopefully Shaden takes the leap that some of the veterans seem to be thinking that he will, in Portland, given how aggressive they've been in mentioning him throughout media. Like seriously, every single vet brought up Shaden in terms of how he looks at media day. It was like kind of funny. I'm going over 33.5, obviously. To me, it's just whether or not, like, do I like them as a bet? Like, hey, this is an interesting play-in bet. You know what I mean? But I think we'll pass on that. And I think we'll just take the over here at 33.5.
Over.
Over feels right. Okay. We're into these last three. I don't know how excited we're going to be to kind of talk about them, to be honest. But the Phoenix Suns, 31.5 is the number. I'm not super excited about the Phoenix Suns this year. Where are you guys?
I'm not either. This was the team that I like bounced back and forth with Memphis, where I was like, okay, if I'm gonna go over on Memphis, I'll go under on Phoenix. In hindsight, maybe I should have went under on Memphis with the injuries, but I went over, so I'll stay under. And I don't even mind it with Phoenix. Like the more I just looked at the roster, the more I didn't find myself overly excited with it. Devin Booker's really good. We'll see kind of what year he has. I realize they revamped the roster a little bit, but like it's still a bunch of shooting guards and centers, and I don't know. Like you mentioned the vibes thing with the Kings. That's how I feel about Phoenix right now. New coach, who knows? I'm okay if you go under and think they're going to win 32, 33 games. Like, fine. I'll go under and say they win 30. And I'm just, it's not a team I'm overly excited about watching or thinking is going to be that good.
To be clear, it's a stay away. I put 31 for their number. I could see them winning 32. Like, it's not that I think 31.5 and I say under. I'm stern about that. Devin Booker gets hurt. This is a 25 win potential. I don't see many paths to like a significantly high over on this either. Like there's no like young player that I'm very excited about. I've seen some of the quotes about Maluak, but yeah, I wonder if this is the season where we start to hear about the Devin Booker rumblings is more my thought about Phoenix. I know what Ishbia has said. I know what Devin Booker has said too. I just wonder if another 50 loss season and they're they're in the lottery, let alone the top 10, is enough consternation. So I'll take the under. I'm not saying that this team is like significantly under outside of an injury. I think 31.5 is the number.
This is an under for me. So here's why this is an under for me. They don't really have a point guard, right? Like Devin's going to have to play point again, which is not ideal for them, especially given that they don't have Kevin Durant and don't have Bradley Beal now. Like Devin's literally just going to have to do everything on this team. Cause like, I don't know about you guys that have listened to the show for a while, but you might realize I'm not wildly high on Jalen Green. Like Devin, especially without a point guard to get him the ball in like advantageous situations like Fred did the last couple of years. I don't love that. I also don't know how they're going to have like anything resembling a defense that makes sense. Like I like Ryan Dunn defensively. Dylan Brooks is obviously a good defender, but I mean, the center rotation is Mark Williams, who I thought in Charlotte was just truly terrible on defense. Maluach, who is a teenage rookie, and that just feels very difficult. I don't think he is as polished as somebody like Klingon was entering the NBA. And then it's like Nick Richards and guys like that. So like you're not looking at like a super high level of rim protection to me. You don't really have anybody to like feed Mark Williams the ball, right? Like Mark needs somebody who can like feed him lobs and like give him shots. So like I don't even know that he's totally weaponized here. Like Devin is really improved as a passer. He's gotten way, way better over the course of his career, but he's not like a natural point guard. And I don't know how that's going to work. It's just kind of all wings and like there's no roster balance. And yeah, I just don't love how this fits at the end of the day. This is an under for me, and it's one I'd like pretty clearly consider as an under.
Yeah. I mean, and again, first year head coach trying to figure all that out.
Man, 4 coaches
seems
in
tough.
4 years. Jeez.
Yeah. Seems real tough for a first year coach to figure all this out as well. Okay, the New Orleans Pelicans.
Under.
Up next.
I'm taking the over.
Right.
Shut up.
Taking the over.
This is up real close for me, Bryce. We're gonna have this conversation.
No. Under.
Okay, Bryce, you go first, given how aggressive you are. The number we're trying to chase here is 31. The total is 30.5.
I mean, I have this team 14th in the West. And the 14th team in the West, the max, you guys want to guess what the max wins for the 14th team in the West is over the last 4 years?
There's some bad teams in there.
Oh,
Is it
I
like
guess
26?
30.
24.
24.
Yeah, for sure.
24. So, I mean, listen, like, here's the thing. Here's what I'll give. If you just bump it one spot to like 13th in the West, so like say Phoenix is way worse or Sacramento or Memphis, like real, whatever, that number does skyrocket and the average does skyrocket. Let me see. Hold on before I say something that I'm going to regret. I like Herb. By the way, I was listening to a podcast the other day and somebody else said Herb, and I was like, it's not just me. Herb Jones. I like Trey Murphy. And then, like, I like Jordan Hawkins and Jose Alvarado, but those are guys. What am I supposed to buy on this roster? Tell me that, Sam, GMAC. Why am I buying the over? Because they have to win because they did something stupid with their draft pick?
Yeah, Andrew, you're up.
So it's partially that. I also, are we going to forget 2 years ago? I understand what Brandon Ingram was, what they don't have anymore, the health risk with Zion, although I'm a bit convinced by the media
your
day
take
photos.
here is how much worse is Jordan Poole than Brandon Ingram?
Not necessarily. I really buy the wing pairing of Trey Murphy III and Herb Jones. I just think they are contributors to winning. I don't think they're going to contribute to a lot of winning this year. I don't think that they're going to be a 49-win team again that's top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense like they were 2 years ago. But if they get 65 games of Zion, that is the most bold if that's ever existed in the history of the two letters I and F. But if they get 65 games of Zion and this new commitment to, his health and he's able to be on the court more often, do you tell me this team can't win 35 games, which still finishes 12th and keeps them in the top 10? Like, it would still be a bad pick that they gave away?
Of all of the injury stuff we've done on this episode, we're betting on Zion being healthy.
Not betting. I'm literally betting.
You guys are, because you're
technically
saying
the over-under means over.
Yeah.
I'm saying that there's enough talent here from a starting five standpoint. Like Kevon Looney, an NBA champion, is for some reason on the Pelicans. Like I like Yves Missi. I like this really is a Herb Jones, Trey Murphy thing.
For the record, I love like those guys. I don't like them. I love both of those guys.
Yeah. And look, partially it might just be
roster.
I agree with the rest of the roster conversation. And I think there's a lot of youth on this team that needs to go through some growing pains as well. It's very much for me. The number is 30.5. I like the over with all these other Portland pivot candidates. I'm sorry, like 34 wins is still a 48 loss season and would be the over. So I think there is enough talent here that I think contributes to winning that would hit the over.
So I am going to say under.
Okay.
I think it is a total stay away, though. Like there is so much variance with this group, to Andrew's point. If Zion is good, this team probably, like if Zion plays 65 games and Trey Murphy plays 65 games, they probably go over this number, is the reality. Because their offense should be good enough to get it there, especially with Poole. Like, think whatever you want about Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is like a good offensive player in terms of like skill set and shooting. And I have worries that they're going to like run him out of point a little bit. And I would prefer they just play point Zion. But like when Zion is on the court, they're like pretty good is the thing. Zion's really freaking good, which is why this is like a total stay away to me. I just need to see it first.
What is like, point Jeremiah Fears going to look like, Sam?
Oh, that's going to go very poorly in year one. Like, okay. I don't see much of a chance of that going well in year one in terms of wins and losses. But you're telling me that like a lineup of Poole, Zion, Herb, Trey, and whatever the hell they're doing at the center position, Looney, Missy, Queen, whatever. That's like not a truly catastrophic team if Zion is there. Here's the real issue. I think this is a bottom 5 defense, like for sure. I have no idea how they get by defensively on this group. That feels really, really difficult to me to kind of place, hey, we're just going to like make this work. Because I thought Missy was quite bad on defense last year. I thought that, Kevon Looney's obviously lost steps. He's a great screener, as Jordan Poole eloquently put it in the press conference that he did. But Herb Jones is unbelievable on the defensive end. Herb Jones can't hold up a Jordan Poole, Zion Williamson. Frankly, Trey is like okay on defense. He's not great. And then like whatever they're doing at the 5 position, right? Like if they're a top 15 defense in the league, Herb Jones might win defensive player of the year. Like is where we're at. I don't really see a world where this team ends up being like anywhere near even like, I think they're not a middle third of the league defense. I think they're definitely a bottom third of the league defense. And I think Andrew's point though, about them having this pick gone is very salient because they are never going to tank this year.
That's the best argument I would give if I was trying to sell the over.
It's
I think that's better than Zion is maybe healthy.
I'm not even fully making the Zion as maybe healthy.
no,
he
I
played
know.
70. He played 70 games 2 years ago. I think that's very much the outlier. I just there's enough talent here for 32 wins, 31 wins. That to me at least, and since there's no incentive to lose,
Sure.
there's no hey, this guy's pretty talented. Let's sit him for the last 2 months.
My counter to there's no incentive to lose is I think they will see incentive to play Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. And that could be not great for your win-loss.
Yeah, I'm not there. I'm truly not there. I think that they can be okay. I think they will play the year out, basically. They might play Fears and Queen. You might be right about that, but like they're going to play the year out. I think. Yeah, Queen and Fears project as like very bad rookies, I think. Just because of like their skill sets more than anything. I'm not saying they won't be good in the future, but players with those skill sets, especially given how bad they were on defense in college, and both of them were quite poor on defense in college. It's a hard skill set, I think, to make work as a rookie in the NBA. The issue with this team and why it's an under to me is if anything goes wrong injury-wise, like Zion, even like Jordan Poole going out, like is a serious problem for them, because then it's like Alvarado and Fears, and that's just like not going to lead to wins. So like Murphy going out, Herb Jones going out, like if Herb goes out, they're a bottom 3 defense in the league. So to me, I don't really see it. This is like a total stay away to me because I can see pathways for this thing. But yeah, I mean, like between like the Zion health thing, I guess like DeJounte Murray is still on this roster. Like he's coming off of an Achilles, ACL or Achilles. I can't remember.
Achilles.
Yeah. So like, I don't think we should expect DeJounte Murray to give them anything this year because Achilles typically takes 18 months. But
unless you're Jason
Tatum. Unless you're Jason Tatum. I'm just like very, very skeptical of this entire situation here. So it's an under for me, but I can see pathways. If Zion's good, they're probably like over 30. If Zion plays 70 games, they're probably over 30. I think
this is officially the Pelicans bet. Dinner at Summer League if they hit the over.
Sam's buying my dinner at Summer League no matter.
I figured I'm not paying for anything anyway.
Summer League, let's be clear.
And for what it's worth, we can go back to the exact same spot.
Yes, that place was awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Final team, the Utah Jazz. Their number is 18.5. This feels like a very low number, boys. This is the lowest number in the league. I will say this though. I do not think the Utah Jazz will be the worst team in the NBA this year.
Wow.
I think the Wizards will be worse. I do think that 18.5 is like about right. And I think that there's a good chance that this is right around the ballpark that they're at.
Real quick for me, I wanted to go over, like I really did, because it seemed so low. And the way my over-unders worked, I ended up going under, and my justification is that the Wizards and potentially even the Nets are so bad that if Utah really wants to get in on the Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer sweepstakes,
and Bryce, do you know what they want to do? They want to get in on the AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson sweepstakes.
Yes. And where Sam has outlined, it's kind of a 3-player race at the top right now in this class as it sits on October 2nd. They would be very inclined to give themselves those odds. So because of that, and a team that has shown their willingness to lose and do it, I went ahead and went under. I mean, obviously it can't be by very much, but I could see them, 17, 18 wins, even if they win some games early on with Lowry.
So I do just want to bring up quickly, right, that if this goes over, it's because of like we think Will Hardy's a good coach, like very similarly to Jordy Fernandez last year, where like Jordy came out and like was a really good coach. They looked very competent in Brooklyn, like all that stuff. And it looked like it was going to go over for a minute, and then ultimately like the wheels fell off, right? But this Jazz team last year was at one point, I want to get the exact number here. They were 14-42 at one point. And then they lost, it looks like 23 of their final 26 games. They pull the ripcord better than anybody league wide. So I think that I think this is going to be an under if you made me bet, because the West is just a monster. The other piece of this that is interesting is you just kind of, look at the schedule a little bit and try to figure out, what does that look like? Early in the season, are there any wins for them that they could potentially find? And, just kind of looking through, they have like a pretty big road trip early in the year. They play the Clippers at Sacramento versus Phoenix, Portland, Phoenix, like 3 in a row, but that starts the road trip. It's at Charlotte, at Boston, at Detroit, at Minnesota again, then Indiana, then Atlanta. Like there are probably some games they can steal within those first 15 or 20, but I don't know if they're stealing more than 5 of those games either, which makes it a little bit challenging, I think.
Under. And my only question for both of you is, do you think Larry gets traded during the season?
No. I will say
no
to that.
My answer is also no.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they will keep him. I think that they want to kind of like hope that Ace hits, have a really great player come in the draft this coming year in 2026, and then be able to turn it kind of quickly and have Lowry.
Because if they land Darren Peterson and Aces anywhere close to what was talked about in the pre-draft at times in the pre-draft process, all of a sudden you can get excited around Peterson, Bailey, Lowry trio with Walker Kessler at the 5. And as Sam said, start to turn it around fairly quickly. So I would say not during the season. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Guys are making a case for the over, to be honest. That they're a player away to turning it around, Yeah,
here's the reason it's an under. It's just they're going to pull the ripcord at some point, and this team I think is the second youngest team in the league behind the Wizards. Like that's really the entire case, right? Like that's the reason for the under.
And the chest of young players is not always super exciting, as we've had that debate on this very podcast.
Yeah, it's also true. Andrew?
Yes.
Have you given your total yet?
Oh, yeah, I said under. Yeah, I'm taking the under.
I wanted to confirm that. Okay, so we're all under on Utah. So just to confirm, Oklahoma City, all over. Houston, all under. Denver, all over. Minnesota, all over. The Clippers, I am over. You two are under. The Lakers, you convinced me to join your side on the over. I'm proud of you guys. The Warriors, all over. The Spurs, all under. Dallas, Bryce is over. Andrew is over. I am under. Memphis, I'm under. Bryce is over. Andrew is under. Sacramento, all under. Portland, all over. Phoenix, all under. New Orleans, me and Bryce under. Andrew over. Utah, all under. Fun project every year, guys. Andrew, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
You can find me at Nick's Film School. We broke down in full this morning's game against the Philadelphia 76ers in Abu Dhabi. As basketball is 90-minute post-game show. Shout out to the Knicks faithful, the Knicks Film School faithful as well.
We talk about our show being for the sickos, and we are. Like, shout out to everybody still here. Shout out to the sickos. We fucking love you guys. Doing 90 minutes after a pregame or a preseason game.
Yep.
That's like beyond the level. That is fucking savage, right there.
One where the starters played the first half. Now, one of those starters was Pacome Dadier, so he did get to go play the second half. But like Josh Hart hurt his back, threw the ball into the stands, and then got ejected. Like this was this was not the most eventful game, and we still did 90 minutes on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel. So come check us out over there as we're ramping up to follow the Knicks. Follow me on social. My handle's right there, Andrew J. Claudio _ Mets Therapy as I'm still licking my wounds on all socials. And then, of course, Game Theory CMV on all socials and the Game Theory podcast.
Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work.
At Motor City Hoops, Twitter, Blue Sky. Motor City Hoops Substack is about to start up now with the beginning of preseason games. So if your team ever plays the Pistons, go check it out because I'll have some words on your team as well. Obviously, the Game Theory, Sam V Substack as well, where I already have a couple video breakdowns. And those will also start to ramp up more, not just from Sam, but myself as well. Pistons Pulse Podcast, where we talk all things Pistons, but I think it's good basketball content. Otherwise, Game Theory Podcast right here with the Sam Vecenie and the best producer in the business, GMAC.
Bryce mentioned it. He has been the king of the Substack this week over on Game Theory Sam V. GameTheorySamV.substack.com, the best place where you can support the Game Theory podcast. Go subscribe. Go hit that subscribe button. It really helps support the show. It's $6 a month. We appreciate everybody that comes and rides with us over on that Substack. It is so kind of you that so many of you have joined already. Go hit that subscribe button. It is so appreciated every single time that one of you guys do so. I notice everyone. I get every single email, and it's just so heartening how many people have hit that subscribe button already over at the Substack. So thank you all. Go do it. Bryce has breakdowns on Dash Daniels and Karim Lopez. I will have one tomorrow on Michael Brown, who is going to Louisville this year. Should have been MVP of the U19s. We'll break down a potential lottery pick for this year coming up. So go hit that subscribe button over there. That's what we've got today. We appreciate all of you immensely for coming to hang out with us. We're at 75,000 subscribers over on YouTube. We hit that number, I think, after the Kuminga show that Bryce and I recorded. Thank you all for hitting that subscribe button. We will be back very, very soon on Sunday with more. Until next time, we'll talk soon.